I'm your huckleberry.
Allow myself to introduce myself.
Greetings and salutations.
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
You're excited. Feel these nipples.
That boy's good. Good and terrible.
Well, I have a microphone, and you don't.
So you will listen to every damn word I have to say.
This is the Mike Rutherford Show on the Big X.
Sportos and motorheads, geek bloods, wastoids, dweebies, they all adore him. They think he's a righteous dude.
Welcome to the Mike Rutherford Show, presented by United Mechanical, your trusted partner for commercial and industrial HVAC, electrical, plumbing, and refrigeration. Call United Mechanical at 502-339-1133.
All right. Welcome everybody. It is Wednesday, December 3rd. This is the Mike Rutherford Show, presented by United Mechanical and Nexus Plus, Louisville's newest construction management company. Coming to you live from the world-famous University of Louisville College of Business Studios here in the heart of Game Day and Signing Day ready, Louisville, Kentucky. Cards fans, you can take accounting to a whole new level with U of L's Masters in Accounting and Analytics. In-depth data analytics courses allow you to achieve a new mastery of accounting in this AACSB accredited program, 11-month competitive internship opportunities, and full access to the Becker CPA exam review. Prepare to graduate career ready in just 12 months. Visit business.louisville.edu to find out more. We are on the air today from 2:33 until 5:30 here on 1450 AM, 96.1 FM. Streaming across the land, including on the Big X Sports Radio YouTube channel, airing live on WBNA Channel 21. You know us better as Big X Sports Radio. Mike Rutherford's here. Roman Kelly's here. Keith Wynn is also here in the house today to talk a little hoops and a little National Signing Day and maybe a little bit, I don't know, Kentucky ass-kicking, Will Stein drama, everything going on in the world of college football. We've got a lot to get to today. Before we say hi to Keith, we say hi to Roman Kelly. You just heard him on Running with Roman. You'll hear him again on the Ticket Punchers from 5:30 to 6. Roman, how are you, buddy? How was the Midway game yesterday?
It was great. It was a great experience. First time doing it. They didn't get the win, unfortunately. But close game, so that's always nice. Back and forth a bit.
I feel like every game you've called for them has been like 76-0, so what happened?
Well, that was football. This is basketball.
Oh, sorry.
That's...
I was thinking it was football still yesterday. I didn't know what sport we were doing.
A little different.
Okay.
But, yeah, it was great. I didn't mess up as many times as I thought I would.
Good.
I should have I didn't say the height in the starting lineups. That was a mistake. Probably should have said the height and where they're from.
Did you get yelled at?
No, but I definitely had enough time to do that. I kind of just felt like I needed to be quick. And then in the post game, I wasn't satisfied with my post game, but I was satisfied with what I did as a play-by-play call and doing color at the same time because I'm by myself. So for the first time doing a basketball game, ultimately I think 7 out of 10 performance.
All right, that's it.
Passing grade.
We can build on that. That's fine. 7 out of 10 is good. How was the rest of your Tuesday? How'd the bets go?
Went pretty good. Bets went well. I didn't do a Ticket Puncher show, so I just had the bet out that we gave out in the Running with Roman show, which hit Spurs last night, and then a couple of personal bets hit as well. Soccer yesterday didn't. I'm still feeling some teams out, figuring some things out there, but ultimately, pretty good night. Today, though, not seeing a lot of the things I like on social media, Mike. The Penn State stuff, them having no plan. I don't like. I'm scared of people who have a lot of money and no plan, so that kind of worries me. Hopefully, Keith Wynn can ease us out of those worries.
First of all, we have a little bit of breaking news via Pete Thamel tweeting out 1 minute ago. I mean, it's never good when you glance at the timeline and you see Pete Thamel sources Louisville football coach Jeff Brom and then a picture. I was like, oh, my God, what are we going to talk? This is good news, though. Sources Louisville football coach Jeff Brom has communicated to his bosses that he's not exploring any other jobs and is committed to Louisville. I mean, it's what I said on the show yesterday as far as what I'd heard reaching out to people, but as I also said on the show, nothing is ever 100% anymore. You can say things with, you could have Jeff himself come to you and say, look, I'm staying, I'm not going anywhere else. Brian can come and say, he's staying, he's not going anywhere else. Oscar and Donna can call you and be like, hey, just wanted to let you know, Jeff is staying and not going somewhere else. And then everything can change in 12 hours for whatever reason. So it is nice to have this actually out there. I think it's what we all expected. But with the Penn State job kind of being like, hey, we just got told no by the ghost of, Ara Parseghian, you didn't know where they were going to go from there. It was a little bit of uneasiness, I guess, even if it was just like a 2% level of doubt. But Jeff Brom going out there and saying, kind of weird that he puts that out there, though. I thought at the very least he would use Penn State's desperation and the fact that people are giving $18 million contracts out there to their third and fourth choices, maybe as a little bit of leverage in contract negotiations, but maybe that already happened. Who the hell knows? But it doesn't sound like. I think the next piece of news you're going to hear on the Jeff Brom front is probably a contract extension. We can talk more about that as we get deeper, but we need to say hello. Keith Wynn in the house today. Long time since we've had you actually in studio. I don't think you said you'd never been to the new U of L College of Business Studios.
Yeah, I think the last time I was on was when you made the announcement that was the sponsor of the show.
Really? God, that's been a long time.
Yeah, so good to be back, man. Had an opportunity to come in studio instead of just calling in, and always enjoy coming in and just being able to talk sports for a while.
It is, it's National Signing Day. You've got all the write-ups over there at cardchronicle.com. It is also Monster Day for the Louisville basketball team for a variety of reasons, going down to Fayetteville and taking on John Calipari, Kenny Payne, and the Arkansas Razorbacks in what is the showcase game of tonight's second day of the ACC SEC Challenge, 7:15 tip-off on ESPN. We'll talk a lot about that game. We'll talk a lot about signing day stuff. We'll talk a little bit about the crazy stuff going on in the world of college football. But we haven't had a chance to talk to you since the UK game. We didn't really get a chance to talk about the UK game last week because we were on such a short week. Didn't have a show on Friday. 41-0 ass kicking. I don't want to speak for you. I didn't see it coming. I know Roman didn't see it coming. I think the vast majority of our text line didn't see it coming. I assume you didn't see that performance coming.
No, not at all. I thought it would be, I just thought the injuries were going to be such a big factor. And I think UK was, they won 3 out of 4, and they, Vanderbilt really got out early on them, and that was the reason why I thought they played so poorly, and really they didn't play as poorly as Vandy just kind of got away. The game got away from them early. I didn't think U of L could do that to them because they hadn't been able to get big plays all season, especially in the passing game, and then you have all your running backs out. But, both sides of the ball, they dominated. That's, you look at just from the last handful of years, that's one of the best performances U of L's defense has put up, and it's one of the worst performances UK's both sides of the ball have put up. To dominate them in that way in a situation where they were playing to get in the bowl game, really, coach is coaching for his job. That was completely unexpected, but, I like the way they played. Everybody stepped up. They just seemed like a different team, especially from what they played against the way they played against SMU. So definitely great to see.
We had this question yesterday. I asked the question on the podcast earlier today as well. Clearly, beating Kentucky, even though it was by that margin, it doesn't cure the ills of the 3 losses that happened in November. But an 8-4 season, big picture-wise, not the worst thing in the world for Louisville football. I know we're always going to be focused on what could have been. Mm-hmm. But if you're grading the season, 8-4, big win over Miami, blowout over Kentucky, but 4 conference losses, 3 of those coming at home in kind of games that you felt like, how the hell did we lose those type of games? What grade are you giving this season?
I'd say it's a B season.
Okay.
I think in year 3 you expect more, and I think that's where the grading scale changes year after year. And I think there's, it's also a little bit of a regression, and so, it's only fair to take some points off for that. But, at the end of the day, Louisville being an 8-win, 9-win program is pretty normal. It's par for the course. So I could see people giving it a C. It's average. But I think they got a big win over Miami. Beating your rival that bad is always important to a very, very large contingent of the fan base. So I think that's only fair. But, yeah, two things can be true. You can be satisfied with that or happy with it, but you can also be critical of the fact that they lost games they should have won. And you can also point out the fact that that's a trend now. That's happening every year. It's something that's really bitten Brom for his career, and you want to see that change at some point. And year 3, to me, is things have changed with the portal. Things change with NIL, and people, rightfully so, expect things to happen more quickly when coaches come in. But I still stand by the fact that year 3 is full ownership from any new coach. And this is all his program. His culture should be there. His roster is 100% his. And to not bounce back after kind of regressing a little bit last year, I think it's fair to wonder, what next year looks like. And when you see the same things happening over and over again that you want to see improve, it's only fair to call that out. But at the same time, 8 wins is nothing to sneeze at. You can't blow by that and act like it's not. It's where Louisville's been since they joined the ACC is 8-9 wins, and he took them to 10 2 years ago. So to me, I think it's only fair to give them a B. But I can understand when people will say it's an average season because that is average for Louisville football right now.
We were talking about this yesterday, and it stood out to me so much that I had to go back and fact check it. But there was someone had put the tweet out there. If Louisville wins its bowl game, and I know bowl games aren't what they used to be, but it still technically is. It's a 9-win season, and you can sit there and say Jeff Brom's had 9 or more wins in all 3 of his seasons here at Louisville. And someone was comparing that because you got a lot of Kentucky fans now who are like, we're back to being the big brother. Congrats, you had 2 years. And someone was like, Jeff Brom is on the verge of winning 9 games in his first 3 years at Louisville. Kentucky's played football for 112 seasons. Do you know how many times they've won 9 games, counting bowl games, in 112 years?
Twice?
5 times. 5 times. And technically, one of those has been vacated now with the 2021 season.
That's one I was thinking of.
Yeah, I mean, they had the 11-1 season in 1960. I think the other ones, you've got 2 with Stoops and then a couple 9-3 years way back in the day. It's when you put things in those contexts, and I know it's not apples to apples because we played in weaker conferences and all that stuff, but still, 9-4. I don't think anybody's going to give that an A. I don't think many people are going to give that a B+, but it is not the worst thing in the entire world. And I think that's what this team was able to salvage by going out there and running all over Kentucky. Yeah. I think you also have people are more interested in the bowl game now. People are more – I think that the same concern about the roster for next season is out there for obvious reasons. But when you go out there and some guys step up and play that well – it does kind of – you have a little bit of boost in confidence. They can go out there and find the right things. I think you also – I said this on yesterday's show, and it's kind of the word that's circulating is the staff was sort of like, if we've got guys that can run like that, maybe we just invest heavily in the offensive line and we don't need to pay a certain running back or running backs a total of $3.5 million, which maybe other programs right now are – making it known that they are willing to do, and I think you see that happen. I mean, if you're looking at the primary focal point of the offense, because what I've heard is they want to go all in to get Cleve Lubin. That's their big focus on the defensive side. He's got some NFL interest. He's going to have other offers from other big-time programs for sure. They're kind of hoping that, hey, we were the guys that got you from Coastal Carolina. Right. They're hoping that loyalty will maybe make him turn down an extra $200K to stay here for another season. And the other thing that I've heard is they really want to invest in the offensive line. You're losing a decent amount from this year. They played better down the stretch. They were, hit or miss this season, especially in pass pro. But they saw what Miami did. Now, they don't have Miami money, but they're like, we can do our own version of that. Just invest heavily in the offensive line and then go out and maybe find a couple of big-time specialty players that can help you out there. I don't have any idea what they're going to do at the quarterback position. Yeah. If you're Jeff Brom and Vince Marrow and the people calling the shots, what's your primary focus in these key weeks ahead where they start planning for what their 2026 roster is going to look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to find a way to balance it out a little bit better than they did, and I think that you're 100% right. Offensive line is something they have to fix it. They're losing almost everybody. Jordan Church is coming back. I know they feel great about Cam Gorn as a freshman, and expect him to step up into a bigger role. That's it. And so you're going to have to invest even if they did play better down the road, but they're all going to be leaving. So I think that's an important part. I think Cleve Lubin, if I'm, I've been essentially getting in the mindset that he's just going to go to the NFL. But to your point, I think that's a big change now, and guys are willing to come back to places because the money is going to be almost similar.
You can. If you say hey man, they're projecting you to be at best a 6th, 7th round pick.
Yeah, you might as well come.
Whatever contract you're going to get, we can probably give you more. Exactly. And you're going to be in basically the same spot next year, especially if you go out there maybe have an even better year. Next season. That wasn't available for us 10 years ago.
Right. And I think the other thing that's they're just going to have to bring in so many guys. And I think that is going to be the part that is very hard to project what they do. But I do think they're going to have to make some tough choices on who the top guys and how they're going to spend that money. If you go and get another portal quarterback, that's another couple $1 million. And if you're investing in the running back room, that's a couple $1 million. They don't have a couple $1 million all over the roster kind of money. So they're going to have to make some tough choices. This is one of the reasons why I really wish that Deuce Adams got more time playing quarterback so you knew whether or not what you're walking into spring practice with. And I don't think they know that right now. Maybe they do, and I think that who they have coming back, and who they have coming in, maybe try to make it work if you feel like your offensive line can really be that good. But if they're not able to fix a lot of these holes, you're going to run into a really tricky roster situation. And honestly, I think the single portal is going to be a negative this time around because you don't have that opportunity to still go out and get more guys later on. So it's one of the most interesting things of Louisville football right now is how do they make this roster work next year with so much loss going in, to their two deep and not a lot of young guys waiting in the wings to step up. And that's something that, I think is a fair criticism of the staff right now is how do we not have anyone coming up from these recruiting classes over the last couple of years who's ready to take that big next step? And that's not the case because when they had the opportunity to get on the field this year, there was no one. There's just not those that, the next defensive end or the next cornerback that's ready to step up. There's definitely not a receiver ready to step up, and they're losing the top four guys, everybody but Trishan Hurry. And, whether or not he comes back or not, right? Yeah. So there's just so many questions, and I just don't know how they make that work. But, they now have – that's why you bring in, Vince Merrill. That's why Andrew Brandt's there. That they brought in the structure to make this work. We're going to learn real quick whether or not it's going to work out or not.
I think the thing that's I think everybody's okay with going out there and handpicking, several impact players in the portal that are plug-and-play guys. I think the issue when you've got as many spots to fill as Louisville is now about to have for a fourth consecutive season is it's impossible to vet all these guys. Yep. You talk about the personal foul penalties this season, the talk about some discontent in the locker room. Now, I will say, props to everybody. They looked like the more focused, the more engaged, the more into it team in that season finale against Kentucky. But there was, you had Miller Moss saying it's a culture thing and they'll have to get that fixed during the offseason. It's impossible with a billion players in the portal and 50 spots to fill or whatever it's going to be in the span of 2 weeks to, what you do is you've got people on this who are like, this person's a good fit for what we like to do here. And you look at these stats, look at these numbers. They played well at this place. They played well at this place, or they were this level recruit. You don't have a chance to go and sit down with all these 50 players and be like, he's the perfect locker room fit for us. You're just guessing that they're going to be players that fit your culture when you've got this many spots to fill. And it does put you in a position where you run the risk of, hey, that second string, cornerback that we brought in that we're not planning on relying all that heavily, he's a real locker room cancer. He's pissed off. That sort of stuff festers. It's an impossible task.
Yeah. Well, I think the other aspect of it is how do you sell it to the guys? I remember, one of the times I was actually on the show with you, actually might have been the last time, we were talking about, I think it was Noah Locke.
Noah Locke.
And, one of the things in that season that you pointed out.
I forgot Noah Locke existed.
Right.
And I think he was the leading scorer on that team.
It stuck out to me, and I still remember it because you pointed out something that, when they brought him in, it was to be a different type of player than he was previously. And then that had to be kind of taken away from him because of what the team needed at that time.
He couldn't do it.
Right? And he became a shooter again. When you're selling these guys to come to your school to do something, you have to do it. And if you don't, you're gonna get a pissed off player.
Yeah.
You're gonna get a guy that's okay. This is, especially the older guys, this is my chance to prove that I can play at the next level. And now I'm not doing what you told me I'm gonna be able to do. They're not gonna be real happy about it. And so when you add that many more guys, it's hard. And the other thing that you're gonna have to do is they have to balance out the classes. When you bring in a bunch of seniors and juniors, you're just going to be doing it again next year or the year after that. They're going to have to bring in a bunch of guys that are leaving a place because they couldn't get on the field in their first year or two and bring them here and essentially say, hey, it's going to work out. Dan McCullough is transferring back out because he couldn't do it elsewhere. He couldn't do it here. They brought in a guy from Georgia a couple years ago who walked right back out the door. Texas A&M had a guy that they brought in after his freshman year, walked right back out the door.
Wouldn't be shocked if Davon Mitchell, you brought him inside in from Oklahoma, might do the same thing.
It just doesn't work. It rarely does. They're not playing there for a reason. And that's the thing that's the other aspect of the youth aspect of Louisville's roster right now. Those guys aren't playing at all. And every team on the planet, if you can play, they're going to find a way to get you on the field. And when you're not playing, you can't play. And that's just way it goes, and you're probably not going to work out there. And so when you
by the way, when you're not
there,
playing, you can't play is a fantastic line. When you're not playing, you can't play. It's perfect.
But it's just those are the things that when I look at the roster and the situation they put themselves in, that's why this recruiting class and the last one and the next one from a high school level has been so important, and they just haven't brought in enough guys or the types of guys that are going to be able to step up when their time comes, and then that means you're going back in the portal for a guy who can't play somewhere else either. So
it just reminds me of the Arrested Development meme when they're talking about the marriage counseling. Does it ever work? These couples they just they delude themselves into thinking that it can work for them. It never does though, but it might work for us. It's kind of us with some of these players.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to think of a player like that that's worked. I mean, Jaleel Skinner kind of this year a little bit.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen immediately.
Yeah, he also hit the portal before he came back.
Barely played last year, hit the portal initially, and then I think they were like, we may have something for you here.
So
I wonder if they try to pull the same thing with Devon Mitchell, although they've got a handful of young tight end is an area where it feels like they've invested in. And I know that they love the kid that they signed today, who they think can be a big-time player for them at some point down the line, Julius Miles. That's right? He's the tight end.
Julius Miles, he should be a really good one.
I think that they feel pretty confident there. So and they've got a handful of upperclassmen that can still play next season.
Absolutely.
So. But it's I mean, the roster assembly is very strange. I mean, the $1 million question, and I wish I had a better answer for the people out there that have asked, because I feel like I've got some insight on the situation at running back and in some other areas. I've got no idea what they plan on doing at quarterback. And as of right now, I'm not sure that they're 100% sure either.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're waiting to see what Deuce does in the bowl game, but at that point, it's probably a little bit too late.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you what I think the game plan was 4 months ago, which is they thought that Deuce is going to be the guy next year. Miller's going to go through the season as a starter. Deuce will play a little bit. I think they were a little bit concerned about some of the processing things that they saw with Deuce throughout the season in practice, but is that enough of a concern that they're not ready to give him the ball next season? No idea. If it's not, I think this is not the time for half measures. You can't go out there and just say, oh, we're going to go get a guy that got benched at Toledo, but he's got starting experience. He could maybe win us 6 games. You've either got to go all in with Deuce Adams, or you've got to shell out the money to bring in a quarterback here that can win right away. And I mean, we know how much it costs for like a average quarterback in the portal right now. I assume it's going to be the same type of bidding war this season. I don't know what type of talent you're going to get out there. You've already got a handful of names that people expect to be out there. But if you invest heavily at the quarterback position, one, we know now there's no guarantee that it's going to work out perfectly. And two, you do so at the expense of every other position. Best case scenario is they feel confident enough in Deuce to get it back on a discount and be able to invest that money elsewhere. The problem is I don't know if they do, and like you said, we haven't really seen enough of him to have any sort of educated idea as to whether or not he can get the job done at a high level the next 2 seasons.
Yeah, and I think an outlier, or not an outlier, but the elephant in the room to speak is a lot of schools are taking the Virginia route, which is instead of paying a buyout, just invest in your coach. And that investment is in the roster. And all that means is that the market's just going to go wild. Everything's going to be more expensive in the portal. And quarterbacks are going to start that. And so that is going to be another aspect that they will have to fight with, is that they're going to have to bring in more portal guys in general. But if they had to bring in a quarterback, it's going to be pricier. And so that's something that they should have been – I'm not saying they should have known that, but I think the other aspect, then you can't go 4 years without developing a high school quarterback. You can't. And I don't know how they've gotten to that point. I don't know if it's just because Deuce hasn't been able to get the practice reps that they want, or they just, like you said, they maybe didn't like what they saw. But you've got to get him on the field, and I think when they had the opportunity, they didn't take the gloves off for him. They kind of handcuffed him, and he had the drive where he had 2 nice throws, one very nice throw, and one that was a good throw that worked out because you're throwing a Chris Bell down the sideline, which is always a good idea. And then for the rest of the game, it was just it's like they just took the foot off the gas at that point. And so we never really understood what he totally had. He provides a different dimension with his running ability, which I think that should help them get him on the field more, and it just hasn't happened. And Brady Allen's not the option either. No. I don't know if Mason Mims, from what I saw as a true freshman, at least in practice, obviously has a long ways to go. And I don't think that Cherry's a guy that can come in and play right away as a freshman either. So What they do, we'll wait to see, but it's definitely the biggest question going into the offseason.
Let's go to break. When we come back, talk a little hoops. Louisville, Arkansas tonight. A little more football discussion as well. Mike Rutherford Show. Keith Wynn in studio. Roman Kelly here as well. Back after this here on 1450 and 96.1 The Big X. O'clock hour of the Mike Rutherford Show, 1450, 96.1 Big X Sports Radio. Game Day edition. Mike Rutherford, Keith Wynn, Roman Kelly, all with you as we roll on. Haven't mentioned this yet, but if you want to chime in, Game Day Men's Health text line is open per usual. Hit us up at 502-414-1450. You can also comment if you want to on the live stream on YouTube. I mean, my heart still doesn't stop from like right as we start the show. Pete Thamel, like breaking a picture of Jeff Brom. I was like, oh, God. It's like the whole show is just going to be derailed. Thankfully, the breaking news was that Jeff Brom has informed the powers that be at U of L that he does not plan on going anywhere else. This says to me that they've probably got a deal done with the contract. I feel like if that news is getting out there, or that there's been a deal done, whatever. An extension is likely imminent here as we roll on into these. I don't want to say off season. We got a bowl game to play, and however many. I mean, give us a good bowl game. Just give us something. Anything but that Fenway Bowl where everyone has us playing ECU. All the other ones are fine. I'll take the Yankee Stadium game because at least it's a Big Ten opponent. But just I don't want. I can't get up for North Texas ECU.
Yeah, it'd be tough.
Freezing cold December 27th.
It'd be tough even for me. So yeah, it'd be rough.
Yeah, anything besides that. We got a lot of stuff going on. It was a big night in college basketball last night. It'll be another big night tonight, especially for Louisville, which will take on John Calipari, Kenny Payne in Arkansas tonight at 7:15. The Cards are 3.5-point favorites at last check, and all of a sudden, it's a big opportunity for the ACC. The ACC, after going 2-14 in the ACC SEC Challenge, goes 6-3 last night, including a handful of upset victories. Who got beat that was supposed to win last night? Roman, do you remember off the top of your head? There's a couple other teams, I think, too. I can't. I don't. My internet stopped working, and I can't look at it. Who got beat that was supposed to win last night in the ACC SEC Challenge?
Oh, UNC played. They won. Who did they beat?
They were on the road, so it couldn't have been somebody that good because they were supposed to lose that game, and it was on the road. So oh my God, it was Kentucky.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what is going on over there, guys? I'm a little concerned. All I heard about the game last night was Will Stein went out there and did the Y and fist pumped. Cool. So it's a rough intro. I did watch the most of the second half of the game last night. Didn't see any of the first half. I mean, I'm kind of out on both those teams, if I'm just being honest. UK, I know North Carolina's a little bit banged up. UK, they didn't have Diabate. They didn't have Jalen Lowe. They still don't have Jaden Quaytons. They could get better. I watched the game. It wasn't great. They just were missing wide open shots. UK finishes the game with one made 3-pointer, 1 of 13. There's just something.
I think if you're North Carolina and you're banking on Trimble being the catalyst for you being better, that's not a good place to be.
He's their best defensive player, and he's out for the year. He's not coming back, and anytime. So I mean, I don't think so. At least they haven't. I don't think they've given a timeline. I mean, I know it was a pretty gruesome injury, but that was rough for them. Caleb Wilson's still a beast, although he was 5 of 19 from the field last night.
Yeah,
but
still awesome.
Both those teams just shot horribly. They looked, and not a thing of beauty in the final moments where both teams are calling timeouts. It's a tie game. Hubert Davis draws up nothing. They calls timeout in both their last possessions, just draws up nothing. And Derek Dixon, who they may have found their point guard last night with him, bails him out. I mean, step back 3 at one point, may have gotten away with a little bit of a push, and then just blows by his guy and finishes at the rim. UK does the same thing where it's like they call timeout, and I'm like, I don't know what they're doing. It's like, oh, ISO for Colin Chandler. Here we go. Works out well once. He blows the layup the second time, and that's the game. It's him missing the layup. But, I mean, Roman.
It was bad.
We got big-time problems in Lexington, folks.
We did. I didn't watch the entirety of the game. I just watched bits and pieces of it, and I didn't get to see the very end of it, which Matt had a great descriptive detail on just how bad the basketball was being displayed there at the end of the game.
Bad.
And what I watched out there, it was just like I was watching Kentucky, like they would string together a couple of good stops, and there was just the most abysmal shot attempts each time down, and looking like nobody wanted the basketball. That's not a good sign. My brain keeps going. It goes back to the money each time, and I hate to do that because everybody spends money now in college basketball, and a couple of those heavy-hitting teams spend a lot. But the fact that
who spends the most, though?
And you're telling me you guys should be the best, like you should be the number one team after the Purdue exhibition, like just all the crazy statements with the hype center around this team, and they don't even have a go-to bucket getter out there.
It's supposed to be the deepest team in the history of Kentucky basketball. That was the claim. I mean, our friend T.J. Walker made that claim. He's not the only one that said that. You can't kind of have it both ways where it's like if we had our guys, we'd be right where we're supposed to be, but also we're the deepest team that we've ever had. I think you can excuse some of what they've done so far this season, not having Jalen Lowe. At the same time, they didn't plan at all at the point guard position. They didn't bring in a backup. They were kind of like us with Chucky Hepburn last season. Thankfully for us, Chucky only got hurt for one game. Without Lowe, they look lost out there. And it's almost like those guys, it's almost like these overpaid, good, not great college players, they can't fully motivate themselves when they're trying to be motivated by kind of a weird guy. Nice guy.
Yeah.
I think he's a good enough basketball coach. All-time weirdo.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know if that plays in a place like Kentucky. I don't know if this is going to work out.
I don't know if he'll ever live down the post-game Louisville thing where he was like, built up this whole story of something that happened before the game and then just had to come back and be like, it's really nothing.
And then kept going to it.
What are we doing?
He's like, I'm a big – the weirdest thing he's ever done. He lays out something happened that I'm not ready to talk about before the game, and then realizes, I think, that it was an error in judgment because Kentucky fan media, to their credit, for 48 straight hours is like, yeah, man, you can't – you kind of can't do that. And so, they beat Little Sisters of the Poor by 60 points the next game, and he comes out and he's like, I'm a big Taylor Swift fan. She likes to leave stuff open to interpretation. I was like, what? You can't just invoke Taylor Swift's name and have it clear up this entire thing. It just does not work.
It was a moment of like, it was a moment of wondering if the job is too big for the guy, right? Like you say that stuff in a small program and it's like whatever. You might get a clip on the internet. It became the biggest story because like, dude, you're in the biggest microphone of the sport, and you're just being weird. And weird is the perfect word for it because it made no sense.
Weird.
Yeah, and it was just likable guy, really do.
Oh,
He seems like a good guy. I kind of it's hard to root against him at least, but Jesus, man, it was the weirdest moment. It kept going, and I don't know that he totally has lived that down. I think he thinks it's been the past, but at some point when they keep losing these games, people are going to keep bringing up the fact that he was very weird after the losses too.
And then saying that he was bringing his wife to talk to all the players individually about life. Like, no. Maybe you want to do that. Don't publicize it when you're losing games right now.
Here's the other thing. After the Michigan State game, that might have been weirder. Like it was like his dog died. It was just so weird.
Like he was about to kill himself.
Yeah, it was really weird.
It was a November loss. They didn't play well. I've never seen a head coach that depressed after a November loss. He's like, I'm just not. Yeah. I'm not getting it done. I mean, he made it sound like they were going to lose every game the rest of the year, or that was the reaction that you get when you've lost a Sweet 16 game as like a 1 seed.
Yeah.
You can move on. I mean, you don't have to be. I know you want to communicate to your super passionate, almost too passionate fan base how upset you are, but the right response is, I'm pissed off. We're going to get this thing fixed. Not like, I just don't know anymore. Like,
Mike, you told him he was going after number 9.
A dark cloud hangs above me. All I can do is stare up at it and wonder when it will pass. Like I was like, get out of your feelings. Nobody wants to hear this right now. What are you doing? And it has not gone well for him ever since then. I mean, he's John Adams from Hamilton. That's what's happening right now. It's the prophecy was foretold. It's now coming to fruition. I got to figure out what the third part of that play is when he gets fired that I can utilize in the final tweet there. But they were not the only SEC team to go down last night. Duke got pushed to the brink by Florida, did you see any of that, Roman, by the way?
Yeah.
Xavier Lee sucks.
He's not good.
He's terrible. He's off, and they've got...
He can't get to his spots. He can't get his shot off against...
Oh, he's done.
He can't handle the physicality or the pace of play.
Now, Boogie Flan played well last night, hit a big late shot, although he had no assists.
You got to keep the ball in his hands.
They had 4 assists the entire game, Florida did. They just don't have the guards. Flan played better, hit a big shot late that looked like they may have won the game. Thomas Houtt was the guy that he looked like an NBA player last night. He was tremendous. They still have the best front court in college basketball. They whiffed in the portal. 2 bad assessments. I think Flan can get better. Xavier Lee looks like he doesn't belong at this level of basketball. But Duke pushed to the brink last night. They get Slim Evans a shot. Now I'm doing the thing where I'm calling him Slim. He 0 for 7 before it, drills it in the closing seconds. They win by 1. That was a big win for the ACC. It would have been a tough loss to take. The biggest win, though, Syracuse.
Yeah.
Knocking off Tennessee last night. It's one of those things where it's like, I guess hurts our non-conference schedule, but improves our ACC schedule. They led for the bulk of that game, then held on late. Biggest win for Adrian Autry in his tenure here. Syracuse fans stormed the court. I was like, you know what? Good for them. They've had several just terrible years in a row. Let them have it. Virginia Tech, the only solo bet that I made last night was on Vatek to win outright. They nearly blew it late. They win in overtime, 86-83. Huge miss on my end. This is what Wake Forest does. They got blown out by Oklahoma last night. They've got good players. Steve Forbes is a good coach who is not coached well at Wake Forest. They play up to the level of their competition and lose these close games to great teams. And then when they play similar teams, which are the games that can really improve your NCAA tournament resume, they don't just lose. They get blown the hell out. They were down by 2 at halftime, lost the second half by 16, and lost on their home court to a kind of whatever Oklahoma team by 18. That was bad. A&M beat Pitt on the road. No shock there. Jeff Cable's about to get fired. Speaking of massive buyouts that are going to just fall by the wayside. Miami, huge win on the road against Ole Miss. Chris Beard, you want to talk about depressed coaches after the game. Did you see the press conference?
That clip, yeah.
I mean, they brought in A.J. Storr, who was the prize recruit of the portal last season.
Yeah.
Went from Wisconsin to Kansas and was just bad. Was not good at all. Started off well at Ole Miss. A.J. Storr's looking pissed off. They're asking him questions, and they're like, A.J., what do we have to do to get the intensity up? And in the middle of his answer, Chris Beard just interjects and goes, we got to play different players. I was like, oh, my God, this could be bad. James Scott and Corin Johnson may have not chosen wisely when it comes to their transfer portal destination, but that was a huge win for Miami last night. Roman, your boy, Luke Lux in Florida State got blown the hell out last night by Georgia. They lost by 34.
Jesus.
Notre Dame beats Missouri in a mild upset at home. And then it was not a game part of the challenge, but Cal has looked good so far this season. They take down Utah last night, 79-72. This was their first game after beating UCLA. So the ACC, which went 2-14 last year, is now 6-3 in this challenge going into tonight. They need 3 wins to lock up the title. The problem is we're the only team that's favored tonight in these games. You have a lot of SEC home games. If you win 2, you get the tie, but technically the SEC retains. It's Ryder Cup rules where if there's a tie, the team that won it last gets to keep the challenge, although nobody really cares. Like you win 8 games, I think, against the conference that was supposed to be the best in college basketball again this year, that you feel pretty good about yourself. So that goes down tonight. We are the biggest game of night 2 of this challenge, and we're the only game pitting multiple top 25 teams against one another. So let's talk about it a little bit. The spread has just gone down now that I see it. Louisville now a 2.5-point favorite. It's been 3.5 for most of the last 24 hours. This is a doozy of a first true road game for Louisville, not just because of the Calipari element, not just because of the Kenny Payne thing. This is an Arkansas team that feels a little bit like a cornered bear. They are super talented, super long, super athletic, and when you look at their resume so far, they've only played 2 good teams, but they're really good teams, and they've lost competitive games against them. Michigan State, at the time, we kind of thought, they lost by 3 at Michigan State. That's not a great look. Michigan State since then has been a damn wrecking ball.
Yeah.
They destroyed Kentucky. They beat Carolina by 16. They played their first conference game last night and beat Iowa by 19. Nobody's played them even remotely as close as Arkansas did. And then Duke, we know how good they are. They're unbeaten still. And Arkansas had a lead on them with 5 minutes to go on a neutral court in Chicago. I think people think that Arkansas is still good because of the way that they played in those 2 games. They've got no good wins. They pounded their 5 bye-game opponents.
Got tested by Samford. Got tested by Winthrop.
Winthrop probably should have beaten them. So I think that there's a little concern out there. What they need is a signature victory. And this game and then the game against Houston at the end of this month are kind of their only opportunities before SEC play starts. Their fan base has gotten to see no quality action at Bud Walton Arena. The 2 big games were both away from Fayetteville. This is going to be an electric environment tonight. Bud Walton's always tough to play. It's especially tough when the fan base feels like they are, desperate for a big-time win. Roman, before getting into particulars, this is a tough ask for this Louisville team in their first true road game of the season.
It is, for a couple of different reasons. First reason, it's kind of similar to the Cincinnati take, where it's multiple bodies on the floor for them that have defensive lengthy ability, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think when you look at the Brazil kid, you look at Pringle, DJ Wagner, even their guards, they've got some length on their guard at the guard position as well. That's a tough ask, just as a team that likes to run, get up and down. We actually don't like mind contact because we typically like our advantage. This is the kind of team that's going to have the advantage on with size, just with more of their lineups. So that's tough. Also, we haven't seen a guard like this yet.
We haven't. 2 guards.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
So, Isaiah McNeely, we've already seen him out there struggle to stay in front of his man a bit, right? Mikel kind of likes to gamble a bit defensively. and that's costed him a few times. So they have to be on their A game defensively when they're playing if we want to keep these guards in check, because Darius Acuff does not care who is in front of him. He will go at you. He will get to the free throw line. He'll get to the basket. Once he starts doing that, now he's opened up the step back as well. And if he's knocking that down, he's hard to guard. So our defenders have their hands full. I think you're going to have to go with Ryan Conwell on him tonight, if I'm being honest. But that's just kind of the main 2 points that, for the sake of the game, before we go into small details.
It's a weird dynamic with this Arkansas team because I think that they were heavily touted going into the season in large part because of who they brought back. My big knock on Arkansas going into this year was I think they're good, but you had people that were ranking them in the top 10 and saying, well, they brought back the load of their scoring, the bulk of their scoring from a Sweet 16 team, and now they're bringing in a pair of 5-star freshmen. And, just calling them a Sweet 16 team is lazy. They underachieved throughout all of last season. They limped into the NCAA tournament. They upset 2 teams and then got beat in the Sweet 16 in a game that honestly they probably should have won. A lot of times when you have that dynamic where it's a team that for the bulk of the year was not great and then they return everybody, they go back to who they were. Now, the interesting thing about this Arkansas team is they're not being led by those guys that we know now in college basketball. Brazil is playing very well for them in the front court, but Carter Knox has taken a step back as far as what's being asked of him. DJ Wagner, the same thing. Billy Richmond is only playing 23 minutes a game. They brought over Malik Ewan from Florida State to kind of be their front court guy. He's only playing 15 minutes a game. Nick Pringle is playing 23 minutes a game, which is down from last year. They're asking less of the college basketball veterans, and that's because they've got 2 superstar freshmen. Malik Thomas is tremendous. Darius Acuff is tremendous. My biggest fear in tonight's game, there are a lot of people out there who are saying, look, the top 3 point guards in next year's NBA draft, they're all going to be on the court tonight. I don't want Michael Brown to turn this into a personal thing, kind of like he did a little bit with the Darren Peterson thing in the exhibition game, because Calipari asks different things of Thomas and Acuff than Kelsey asks of Brown. We need Michael to score, for sure. But Thomas and Acuff are they're doing the lion's share of the heavy lifting on offense.
It's like Harper and Bailey almost.
Exactly, but with a much better supporting cast and a coach who kind of knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Malik Thomas is averaging 17.6 points a game. Acuff's averaging 17.4. They're both averaging a little bit over 4 assists per game. I think Thomas is actually right under 4, and Acuff's at 4.4. They both can run the point. They both can initiate the offense. They both love to get out and run in transition. They both can shoot the 3. Acuff shooting it at 45%. Thomas shoots it more, but is still at a very respectable 34.5. These dudes are good. And there are a lot of people who are like, they maybe be the first 2 point guards taken. I'm sure Mikel's heard that. I'm sure Mikel wants to go out there. We can't afford for him to let this game become personal, because Calipari wants to give the ball to those guys and just say, go. We know how he handles point guards. He's got 2 of them this year. He lets them do what he wants. Mikel's got more of a supporting cast around him, and this has to be a game where if Thomas goes down, hits a 3, Acuff goes down, hits a 3, Mikel can't be thinking, all right, well, I've got to shoot it. Because guess what? They're going to take that away from you, and when they do, you're going to have better shooters around you that are given a little bit more space. He's got to let things come to him naturally tonight. I don't have any real fears about him handling the environment. It's more about the mental challenge of not letting this become a personal class of 2025 supremacy rivalry type thing. That's what worries me a little bit.
And if it does kind of turn into that a bit, it can't be a shooting fest.
And
get to the basket.
Right.
Get one of those guys in foul trouble. Make that your mission.
Yeah.
I think the biggest asset to Mikel in this game, and to really, even if he wants to show off the ability to get other guys involved, because that's the aspect of his game that I think was underrated coming into the year, that you heard about, over the summer, is that this guy's a facilitator just as much as a scorer. And I don't know if he's really totally shown that yet. He's had some flashy moments, but he's got one of the best supporting casts in the country. And I don't know if he's totally been able to get those shooters open shots as much as he could. He's not doing a poor job of it, but I think he can do better. So I'd love to have him, take that as a challenge instead, because that's you kind of nailed it. I think everyone's fear after that Kansas exhibition game was he's going to have this hero ball mindset when he has the spotlight. And it's a real concern because the spotlight's going to keep going when you play Duke and others. So, I think if he can take it as an opportunity to show that he can facilitate and get shooters open, because I think the best thing they can do tonight is to turn this game into a shooting contest, because I think that's where they can separate from Arkansas. They can't keep up when they're having to shoot too much. So, I think that Cal, with the way that he coaches his team, his guys are going to turn it. They're going to follow that trail if Louisville leads them there. So, that's what I think could be the best option for him. But, I think everybody has that concern of him really kind of trying to take over the game and taking these NBA threes and logo threes and whatnot. It's just not where they need him to be.
A couple quick things that have happened on the football side of things. This is going to be one of those types of shows where stuff just pops open. Ben Perry, the former Louisville linebacker who spent this year at UCLA, says he's going back in the transfer portal. I love the whole, the portal doesn't open for 4 weeks, so we're not going to have to deal with this. And now it's just players saying, I will enter the portal. And then Karsten Bush, the St. X linebacker who had been committed to Louisville for a long time, has now, we knew he decommitted. He's going to go to Miami. So
big loss.
Not great there. His quote was, the people in the program were what made me commit. Miami is not just warm weather and sunshine. They've got a very good coaching staff consisting of hardworking coaches who love football. I mean, I think this was, hearing a little bit about how this went down, this was a classic case of just kind of being outbid.
Yeah.
I think that Bush thought he was worth more than what Louisville was offering. Louisville wants to take its money and use it more in the transfer portal than it does with incoming freshmen. Miami, they don't care. They're like, hey, $200,000, come here and play. And Louisville's like, we can't really do that. Mm-hmm. So the result is somebody in your own backyard going down there and playing for one of your biggest conference rivals, which is not an ideal turn of events for Louisville in this class of 2026.
So fun.
That's not great. Back to the Arkansas game tonight. A couple of other quick thoughts here before we wrap up this segment. One, Arkansas is going to run with us. The common response is cool. We're not going to back down from that. The problem is they've done it better than we have so far this season. They've got a couple of guys that can really shoot it, but when they go to those backups, when they go to Wagner, when they go to Carter Knox, when those guys are at, they're all far more comfortable playing inside the arc. They want to get downhill. They want to tilt the court. They want to score in transition. They are the third best team in college basketball when it comes to transition buckets. And while we run a ton, this is a wild stat. We are the fourth highest scoring team in college basketball. We're getting just 8% of our offense off of fast break points right now, which is crazy.
Wild, yeah.
We're doing more in the half court by a large, and we're more efficient in the half court than we are in transition, which is kind of crazy. Now that can't change. We're still working with a limited sample size, but they have been a better transition team than we've been so far this season. Having said that, we're not going to stop. We are going to play at a breakneck pace. They are too. This is going to be a keep your head on a swivel type game.
That's interesting.
The biggest area where I think Louisville has to exploit Arkansas tonight is on the glass.
Yeah.
Brazil is their only really good rebounder, and I think Arkansas, they got some guys with some attitudes where they don't really like to, rebounding's a lot about effort, and some of those guys, they don't want to get in there and do that thing. They are 214th in offensive rebounding, 141st in defensive rebounding. In the same two categories, we're 35th and 18th. We've been very good at out-rebounding the better teams on our schedule, as well as, we out-rebounded NJIT by 72 or whatever it was the last game. In their biggest games this season, they've been out-rebounded by Michigan State and Duke by a total of 82-61. We've got to control the glass in this game. That's a call to action for Frew, obviously, but also guys like Kason Pryor and Kenai Roots and Ryan Caldwell, who've helped us out on the glass significantly this season. And then the last point that I want to make before we kind of put to bed this initial conversation, Louisville has to defend well without fouling. They shoot as a team 80% from the free throw line, 11th best in the country. They don't get there a ton. They get there a reasonable amount. They're not bad at getting there, but they're 141st in free throws combined per field goal attempt. If the game is being called tight early on, and I haven't seen who the officials are, but if they're you come down first couple segments, they're calling a tight whistle, you got to adjust. You can't keep playing the same way and put these guys at the free throw line because they more times than not are going to win a free throw shooting contest. Those freshmen are very good free throw shooters. They know how to get to the line. Louisville's got to avoid letting them beat us at the stripe. Also, Kenny Payne sucks at coaching. That's my last point. Terrible coach. Doesn't know what he's doing. Not going to help him out tonight. I can't have us lose this game tonight. I cannot. I can't stomach it. I'm already, my stomach's in knots. It feels like a Kentucky game. I can't take his face going through the line, thinking in the back of his mind, I was justified now. I would have had him at number 1 if they'd let me had 4 years here. I can't have that happen tonight. I want him crying. I'm not saying we need like Case and Pryor DX crotch chopping him in his face, but I want him upset.
It would
tonight.
be hilarious if it happened.
It'd be great if it happened tonight. I'm not advocating for it.
He's gonna find a way to say something like that when we beat him. Well, I mean, I told you guys it took 3 years. This would have been year 3.
I'm fine with that. What I'm not fine with is him thinking that this somehow redeems himself and justifies his line of thinking. I watched the Titanic speech today. Put it on the way. It made my blood boil again. We got to go to break when we come back. Game Day Men's Health text line, Tom, 502-414-1450. Back after this here on the Big X. Number 2 here, the Mike Rutherford Show, presented by United Mechanical and Nexus Plus, 1450 96.1 Big X Sports Radio. Reminder, United Mechanical and our guy John Burke, they are your trusted partners for commercial and industrial HVAC, electrical plumbing, and refrigeration services. Give them a call at 502-339-1133 or visit them online at UnitedMechanicalInc.com. We love our friends at United Mechanical. Mike Rutherford in studio here with Keith Wynn and Roman Kelly, getting you ready for tonight's game between Louisville and Arkansas. Thank God it's not the late game. I mean, they have these weird staggered tip times because it's the ACC-SEC Challenge. I mean, the UK game tipping off at 9:30 last night was brutal. I mean, great for me because I could get the kids down and then watch the entire game basically. But would not love it if we were staying up till like midnight to watch this game tonight.
It's funny because I fell asleep when Chandler hit the layup. That's when I fell asleep. I missed the last two plays. You're talking about. I was like, oh, I learned what happened now. I completely
terrible time to fall asleep.
And I was struggling, but I was up, finishing up the Saturday post, and I just couldn't make it. I'm too old these days, man. I can't pull it off anymore.
We have a little bit more information coming in. We started the show off with the Pete Thamel tweet about Jeff Brom confirming to U of L powers that be that he's not going anywhere else. There a little bit more details are emerging now. According to Pat Forty, who I think would know this type of thing, it's not just Jeff Brom saying, I'm staying at Louisville. It's Jeff Brom actively turning down an offer from Penn State, which is now, he says, after the Nittany Lions were rebuffed by BYU's Kalani Sitake on Tuesday, Brom was presented with terms of a deal by Penn State. Agreeing to leave on the same day Brom was signing a new freshman class with Louisville was not an attractive option, sources say. More than 50 days after firing James Franklin, the Penn State search is still ongoing. Sources say former New York Giants coach Brian Dabble, who was fired from the job last month, could be an option. Brom and athletic director Josh Hurd have been in talks in recent weeks about reworking his contract and other program enhancements. Brom is believed to be more interested in NIL resources than anything else. Not a shock there.
Yeah.
I think obviously his agent is going to do what he can to get him the most money for his new contract. The common thing, I think at a certain point you're like, I've got generational wealth. I'm pretty good here. I'd like to win. The best way to win is to take some of this money that maybe you could give me and say, let's figure out a way to get more money for our roster moving forward. I think that's probably the right route to go.
I'd say it's the best possible outcome, and honestly, that's what I've been hoping for. Just to be candid, I think that when you have a guy like Brom, people talk about a hometown discount. I don't really look at it as that as much as, to your point, he doesn't seem like the guy that really wants a ton of money. He's not in this for the money, but he does need the resources to get the team where it needs to be. And I was kind of concerned of whether or not they were ever going to get there. So if that's the case, I think that's great news for Louisville football right now, because that's what they need to be able to get to the point where they can actually get over the hump and, get to the ACC championship and possibly win and get to the playoff, is to get the roster better. And he needs the finances to do it.
Yeah, I think people look at Vandy in Indiana now. It's become the big talking point. It's like, well, they hired Kurt Signori, they hired Clark Lee. They also threw a crap load of money at the program and said, it has to be both things. It has to be the right guy, and you've got to have the financial resources. You can have God's gift of football knowledge, and he's not going to be able to win 10 games if you don't have a roster that is within shouting distance financially of the best programs in your conference and the best programs in the sport. It's just it's the way that it works.
Yeah,
you can't compete.
Yep.
So we'll see what he's able to do with that NIL money. Someone just said, can we, anyone with some extra money that's on the YouTube chat, can we get Corin Davis to sit courtside by the Arkansas bench tonight? Would be wonderful. Let's make it happen.
That'd be outstanding.
We have talked a decent amount of Louisville, Arkansas. I mentioned this at the break. I watched the Kenny Payne, the video after the last loss, the last of the 52 losses over 2 years here. And I'd forgotten just how bad it was. I've repressed so much of this, but him going into the whole, with the whole time with the smirk. I know, this isn't me, guys. I told people, you're not going to blame me. You're not going to let me stand up here by myself. We kind of forgot that. I told people it was going to take time, 3 to 4 years. You never said that, by the way. We kind of forgot that. The whole thing. I told people, see who's going to jump on and off the Titanic. Kind of forgot that. What the hell was he talking about the entire time? Just the most absolutely idiotic 2-year span that any major program in any sport has ever been forced to deal with.
You know what was really offensive when UK lost to Michigan State? There were people, posting that, we have our Kenny Payne, and I'm like, you have no clue what it was like.
Nothing makes me more upset. We had some of our fans being like, is Brom the actual Kenny Payne? No. He's won more games in every football season than he's coached, or as many as Kenny Payne won in his best season. Yeah. There's no comparison.
I think people have completely memory hold how bad it was. It really is. And it's crazy to me because it was the worst in the country. It was awful. It's the worst basketball season ever for the program, and people
We were 361st in the net rankings 3 years ago today when they came out of 363 teams.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
When UK fans tried to do we lost to Oakland, terrible times for both of us. No. You were a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. We are not the same. It's like you lost your job and got a golden parachute buyout from a multi-million-dollar company, and we're homeless and getting stabbed on a weekly basis. We are not the same. You don't know our pain. Stop acting like you do. Along the same lines, who do we think Kentucky's rooting for tonight in Arkansas versus Louisville? Because I don't think it's as straightforward as because here's the thing.
That's a great question.
They're rooting for us.
I kind of think that I don't think they're actively rooting for anybody.
Yeah.
I think it's better for them if we win.
It is.
Because if not,
They want to see Cal lose and make that loss against us not look as bad.
I mean, Cal dominated Louisville while he was at Kentucky. Who didn't dominate Louisville this season? Mark Pope. Kind of a bad look if you turn around and 3 weeks later, John Calipari's still beating that same Louisville team that whooped you up.
Yeah. I think that's fair. I think also you have to throw in the fact it's the same thing with Pope being likable. I think UK fans are Kelsey's a likable guy, so I think it takes a little bit of the heat off the rivalry. But I do think that they genuinely want Calipari to be really bad.
Oh yeah,
right. And I think that's the factor is that if he does poorly, it proves that they made the right choice to move on from him. And I think that's going to be the biggest thing.
Do Kentucky fans have to retire all the short jokes now? Because that's been their big thing with Pat Kelsey. Is we don't we can't hate him because of whatever, but we can make short jokes about him.
Yeah.
Will Stein, not the biggest guy in the world. I mean, look, I think they listed him at 5'10".
Yeah,
Guess what? I've hung out with Will a handful of times. He ain't taller than I am.
He visually looks short. You know what I mean? From a standpoint, I don't know what it is, but he's in a suit and it's like, God, maybe it's the suit jacket's just too long for him. He just looks tiny.
He's the classic, short, stocky guy.
Yeah, it's not a great look, but
look, I mean, the fact that he was a 5'8" quarterback playing at the Louisville level is awfully impressive.
You can go back. I think there's a tweet out there from me a long time ago saying that Will Stein should be playing over Teddy Bridgewater at one point.
You weren't alone. Yeah. He did play over Teddy Bridgewater at one point.
I love Will Stein. I love
basically
what he
got
program.
Mike Sanford fired at the end of the day. There was a huge 2011 season, the power struggle that was going on, where they were Sanford's like, Will's the guy. We can use Teddy, but we need to use him in running situations. And Charlie and Watson were like, no, that's not going to work here.
Shout out to Passy Wynn, who leaked me the fact that Sanford was not on the plane to the game.
To North Carolina. I was driving to North Carolina, and I think you texted me hey, just letting you know, Mike Sanford's not going. And I was like, oh. And then we went out there and we scored 7 points, and I think they all came the last 3 seconds of the game.
All bad.
It was a terrible game. We missed 3 field goals in that game. I randomly went to every game that season. I went to Carolina. I went to the game in Cincy at Paul Brown. I was all over that 2011 team. Yeah. And the only game I didn't go to was the West Virginia one that we beat the top 25 opponent. It was a great season.
Yeah, good times.
Fantastic year. Game Day Men's Health text line is 502-414-1450. That's the number to weigh in. Questions, comments, concerns. We will talk a little signing day a little bit later in the show, but want to make sure that you guys have your thoughts heard on the radio today. Lots of texts already coming in, per usual. It's a game day. You guys are excited. We're excited. Let's read some texts. Text says, happy game day, gentlemen. Roman, FSU looked horrible yesterday. Hop off the Luke Locks bandwagon while there's still time. Also, Xavier Lee is the biggest NIL heist ever so far. The kid has no game, and he's going to get exposed. We've covered both those things, and I think they're both pretty accurate. Also, last night was amazing. I was watching the UNC-UK game with my UK girlfriend while she's crashing out. And I'm sitting here smiling ear to ear knowing I had bets on UNC spread and money line. That was some of the worst shot selection I've seen in a minute. UNC is not good, but UK sucks out loud, and they can't hang with anybody that has a pulse. They're making our win look worse. Let's go Cards, beat the Hogs. I mean, honest question. Seriously now. UK's looked pretty bad since they beat us. Now, they've pummeled the teams they're supposed to, but they got beat at home by, I think, kind of good, not great North Carolina team. They got destroyed by Michigan State. Cincinnati is not looking good either. No. Are we a little bit worried about ourselves right now at this point without having, I think we find out these next 2 weeks, but before we get the process started, is there at least a little bit of doubt in the back of either of your minds that maybe we're not the 6th best team in college basketball?
I don't think so. I think my biggest question, and I think it's going to get answered at least a little bit tonight, is an athletic team on the other side of the court that can really challenge the defense. And I don't think that UK can't shoot. And I think that their point guard play, even in that game, was suspect. So I think that's going to be answered tonight, at least a little bit. But that's been my biggest thing is I think Louisville, from a standpoint, their offense is going to score. I think they're going to be very good on that side of the ball. I just wonder if you get into a real battle with both offenses being able to score. I don't know if Louisville's defense holds up. So that's the question for me. But, they've answered a lot of the concern I had, which was rebounding, whether or not Frew can actually handle his own down the bottom and down low and on the offensive side of the ball. And really the meshing of the team. I mean, there's just so many guys, but I think that's been my favorite part. To be honest with you, the second group comes in and it's just, nothing really changes. You get kind of a different team. It's more defensive minded and whatnot. But the fact that these guys are playing as hard as they are and playing together, I think that was my concern, but not even a question anymore.
Roman, concern?
Not all that concerned.
Okay. I'll say what I said yesterday. I know we're good. I don't know if we're great. And honestly, I don't think anybody does. I think
we're great, Mike.
Okay. Well, Roman knows we're great. I think the next 2 weeks, nothing's ever decided. Teams like Florida, nobody thought they were great until they really hit that stretch in February and March where they started looking like the best team in college basketball last season. Nothing is ever fully apparent until we get closer to the tournament. And honestly, it's never really fully apparent until you get done with the tournament. But I think that we will, if you handle this stretch accordingly, if you win 3 of these 4 games, and certainly if you win all 4 of them, you can say without hesitation, without doubt, without anything, like we're a top-tier national title contender. You go 2-2, you can still get there. Just you've got maybe more work than we thought. Anything less, and it's not back to the drawing board, but it's very much like, okay, our start was a little bit misleading. And that process gets going tonight. We haven't seen this team play a true road game. And they're going to go down there against a team that has a lot of talent and a fan base that is desperate for this level of win. I mean, their fans are trying to create their own whiteout. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
The administration hasn't put anything out about it. The fans are like, no, it's a whiteout. We're all wearing white, which never works out. We'll see if they can pull it off tonight. But they're trying to make this their own whiteout. We'll see how that goes. Keith, this is I kind of forgot about this. I mean, you got some in-laws down there that aren't that cool. This is kind of a personal game for you, right? You got the Arkansas family that's down there.
Fair. My in-laws, they're great. I actually watched the Duke Arkansas game sitting next to my father-in-law, and I just felt terrible. Boozer just kept dominating. I was like, he's just draining.
He's good.
I was like, it happens, but we watched the football game too, and then that went poorly too. But no, it can be fun for the folks down there that I'm not necessarily a fan of. At least, got some of them that aren't so great.
Yeah, I think I've heard your wife make some Facebook posts.
Yeah, you've seen my wife's Facebook posts.
I enjoy it.
If you haven't,
she's just like she's unfamily. Some people
once a year she gets a nice rant, but I don't know if we're gonna still do that. The main culprit of that is no longer with us.
Oh,
kind of worked out.
R.I.P.
It was always a great part. It was a great tradition of my wife is it. What is it? A birthday? What's going on? It was a nice little yearly. She went on a rampage and. Deservedly so.
I was going to say, well-deserved.
Fully supported by me.
I would like her to maybe put a video of herself giving a DX crotch chop if we do win the game tonight, and at the people in her family that aren't that cool.
Yeah, it might happen.
Mike,
yes.
One point about tonight.
Okay.
Of emphasis that sorry to interrupt you guys.
No, please.
When you asked me my concern, I was going to mention it. One thing that I do think we'll have an advantage with tonight is the shot selection I've seen from Arkansas. When the game does slow down in the half court, hasn't been all that great.
Yeah.
It's where I saw, obviously I watched pretty much the entirety of the Winthrop game, had it on. They don't really, it's their guards get it and go. When their guards get it and go and it's an open court, open floor kind of a game.
It's Calipari.
There's more decisions to be made. There's more room for their athletes to take advantage. In the half court, the front court isn't all that skilled, if I'm being honest. Brazil
is super athletic.
Interesting because he can shoot, so he can kind of bring the defender out, and he can kind of dribble a little bit, right? Now, if you're not paying attention, if Kanai's ball watching guarding Brazil, and he's a backdoor monster kind of a player. I also just don't I don't think Pringle's you're not gonna get the ball down on the block to Pringle. I think if our second line of defense, if we can contest well without fouling and don't let those 2 guards get to the free throw line, which is what you mentioned earlier, they're not prone to getting good shots in the half court, and we kind of are. So I like our ability to just have the shooting we have on the floor when we are in transition and when the game slows down, I think we're a little bit more, methodical with our shot selection than they are. So
it is weird. I mean, you would think we still play at a faster pace than they do. And so you would think that playing at our pace would play right into our hands. We are a better half-court team than they are, which is a little bit, I think, kind of surprising. Now, we're not going to slow the pace down at all.
But there'll be the possessions out there where it does get slowed. We've got to take advantage.
There will be. Now, I mean, we may, and maybe it's just because we haven't put our foot on the gas as much as we like to. I mean, that's kind of my big thing, especially in the Cincinnati game. It was like, Michael, go. Like, he was kind of jogging the ball down the court, and I was like, dude, misses after makes. Like, we need to get going against teams like that are really good at half-court defense. Now, Arkansas has not been as good defensively in the half-court as Cincinnati was, but still, I'd like to see us push a little bit more in this game and create open looks. That's the best way to open up the game for a guy like Isaac McNeely, who has seemed a little bit overwhelmed against UK and certainly against Cincinnati, teams that have length and athleticism. I don't know if this is going to be a big Isaac game. I think Indiana on Saturday,
huge Isaac
could be a big Isaac game. This feels more like the Cincy game.
Like an Adrian Woolley game.
Woolley could help us out a lot off the bench. I think we need Ryan Conwell to go out there and be the star that he's been all season long. We need Michael to be Michael, and we need the bigs to play the way that they did against Cincy as well. Because like you said, they've got some talented front court. I think Brazil's really good. He also one of the best dunkers in college basketball. If he crams on somebody, sometimes plays like that can be worth more than 2 points. He's an electric shot blocker. He's also the really only good pound-for-pound rebounder. He averages, I think, 7.5 per game or somewhere around there. He's the only guy averaging.
Pringle ain't getting off the floor.
Less than 5.5. Pringle's okay. Pringle's fine.
Stays on the ground. Not a player with a lot of elevation.
He's not nearly as athletic as Trevin Brazil, for sure. I mean, I like Billy Richmond a little bit at the guard position. He can help out down low to an extent. Malik Ewan has not factored into their offense nearly as much as I thought he was going to. But they look like a Calipari team where it's the get the ball and go.
Yeah, and I think
go make plays.
You've got to get those guys like Richmond and Brazil and those guys shooting threes because they'll take them.
Yeah,
and that's where Louisville can. I think they can win, so to speak. Is getting those guys in those kind of hero ball moments because those guys will take every opportunity if you give it to them. And, they're streaky. They might hit a shot or two, but you've got to, you also can't adjust just because they hit a shot or two. You've got to make sure that that's their offense and you can live with that. And it's also taking the ball out of the two freshmen's hands if you can do that. But I think this is a game where, Ali Khalifa could be a factor with his passing ability on picks and screens and things like that because Cincinnati did a really good job of just making those, just taking that away. Their defense was that aggressive. I feel like when you watch Arkansas, there's a laziness factor to their defense. They're relying on their athleticism so much that they're not sound in all their technique, and I think that's going to be a factor, at least in my opinion. And I think that gets to Roman's point of getting to the hole, and Woolley and those guys getting drives to the hole, getting those guys in foul trouble is going to be a big factor as well. So I hope that they don't get too 3-point happy. I would be fine with a shootout, and those guys are shooting a bunch of threes if they're making them. But you've also got to take the opportunity to get to the hole because these guys, watching them the other day against Duke, it was just you could tell that these guys are so used to being much better athletes than everybody that they rest on that
for sure.
And when they're relying on that, there's opportunities to beat them, and I think that's what they got to take advantage of tonight.
I think you can't let Thomas and Acuff beat you from deep.
Yeah,
because both those guys are really good shooters. Acuff is the one shooting 45%. Thomas is the one who shoots more. Like, he'll take 10 threes probably tonight. Acuff will take probably 8-9 if you let him. And either one
will be off the dribble.
Yeah, I mean, they'll take crazy shots. They'll take, like, the Michael Brown shots. But they make them with a pretty high degree of certainty. Like, either one of those guys can go 7 or 10 from 3 tonight and change the entire game. Yeah. The other guys, like you mentioned, Brazil is a good three-point shooter, but he's the classic forward who's only good when he's got enough time to gather himself and
step into it.
He's not a good challenge three-point shooter. Carter Knox is shooting a high percentage this season. For his career, he's not a great outside shooter. He's only good, I think, when you leave him wide open. Billy Richmond, the same thing. DJ Wagner's never been a great outside shooter. If one of those guys steps up and hits like 4 or 5 3, you tip your cap and you say, all right, like we had to give you something. You can't let the two freshmen, they're going to score. You can't let them go off for like 28 points apiece and hit a bunch of threes. Those are the guys that you have to be defending the most. And that's on Michael and it's on Ryan Conwell.
Yeah,
I'm going to nitpick a little as well. Okay. Back to the point that Keith just made. When those two guys are on you, Mike, you have to go at them. One thing that I've kind of been watching us do is that we're like the fastest paced team getting to our side of the floor, and then we like to look around and see who wants to do what and get into our sets. Not necessarily like with uncertainty, but maybe certain players rushing to get down into the offense because we don't have to pass it to the guard every time, and then we're like, wait, let me go give it to Michael. Let me get it to this guard. When the 8 cut for Thomas is on you and you have the ball and you're pushing the pace and you're up to the three-point line and there's not a big behind them, you can't stop at the three-point line. You've got to get into those kind of guys' chests because I don't think they're really that disciplined of defenders. They're going to swipe at the ball. They're going to reach in. So Ryan Conwell, Michael Brown, take advantage of that. And once you do, now all of a sudden they're taking a little bit step back when they're guarding you, giving you just a little bit more breathing room for that jumper because they know they can't stop you from getting to the paint.
Yeah, and I think
the weird thing, real quickly, Keith, the weird thing, too, about Arkansas and the way that they play, they don't turn the ball over a ton. They also don't turn other teams over. Like they're 240th in turnover percentage on defense, but they take really good care of the ball. Both these teams do. So while you're kind of thinking it's going to be this back and forth, up tempo tilt, like neither team is really they don't let themselves get too out of control, which is impressive. So the best way to combat that for us, I think, is what Roman's saying: go into those guys, try to get them in foul trouble.
Yeah, and I think that's where the screen offense, as I call it, at the top of the key with Ali Khalifa, those guys are going to try to fight through screens and whatnot, and that's another way to pick up those cheap fouls on those guards. You got to make those guys be aggressive on defense in some way, shape, or form, and the foul trouble thing is such a key factor because if you can take even one of those guys, off the court for an extended period of time, you can extend the lead. And I think that Louisville's in better shape when that happens to them than Arkansas is. I think if Mike Hale's off the court for a while and you got Kobe or Adrian Willie out there, the offense can still run like it needs to be run, and the defense actually steps up a little bit. So, I think they're in a better shape if you get in those situations. I think Arkansas is in a bad spot. I don't know if they have that kind of depth at guard that if one of those guys is off the court, that things don't kind of change for them, and I think that's a key factor tonight.
A friend of mine just texted me something, and now I can't think about anything else. I have a new irrational fear unlocked for tonight's game. Imagine we're controlling the action.
I know where you're going.
You know where I'm going to go. We're up by 10. There's a questionable whistle that goes our way. John Calipari gets himself thrown out of the game. If Kenny Payne were to lead a come-from-behind second-half victory, I'll die. I won't be here tomorrow. I'll be face down in a ditch somewhere, just like writing a love letter to my kids and saying, I'm sorry, I can't do that. I couldn't handle it. Now I'm terrified. And you would think that, I think Chin Coleman's kind of chair one. Like, he'd be the first guy. Like, Calipari would make sure that it was paid.
Absolutely.
I can't handle this. Or if, they're beating us badly and Calipari gets himself thrown out in the last minute just for effect.
That's the part that I
and
was
lets Kenny Payne be chair one for the last minute.
Yeah.
Now it's all I can think of. I can't focus on anything else.
Yeah, it's fair. That's nightmare scenario.
We can't let that.
Yeah, no.
No, there's no way. There's no.
Surely to God, not. He does the press conference afterwards too.
Oh man!
I told our guys we had to fight.
I don't know if he's self-aware enough to cut that deeply.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I don't think he even knows that became a thing when he was here.
No.
And I don't think anybody had the heart to tell him. But yeah,
I think that's just one of the few words in his sports terminology that he's got.
I don't think he knew how to say anything else.
You know what? I can see a world where Arkansas pulls off the win and Calipari just lets them do the press conference.
I can see it for
right?
sure.
Just because.
I mean, Cal loves poking Louisville.
Yeah,
giving them a little.
Oh, they're gonna do it together if they win. And both of them up.
I mean, I'm sure in Calipari's mind, Louisville gave him a raw deal as well. They didn't give him what he wanted. They weren't as supportive as they should have been. All that stuff.
No way he's that dumb.
He will try. He'll say it though.
Yeah.
He'll try to stick it to us if he gets a chance tonight. There's no doubt in my mind. We can't let this happen. It's the biggest game of the year besides Kentucky. We've got to find a way. I'll be devastated if we don't find a way to win this tonight. And it's if you didn't have the Calipari Kenny Payne element, this very much feels like a game that a team in Louisville's position would go on the road and lose. It does.
Yeah.
They have. I think it's a bad matchup for us. Arkansas has played 2 really close games away from home against 2 really good teams and not won them. They're desperate for that early signature victory to kind of get that one in their belt so they can relax a little bit. Their fans, it's their first big home game. It's our first big road game. Like, everything kind of points to the classic game that you can lose and shrug off and say, yeah, I mean, it's going to happen in December. But we can't let it happen for personal reasons. I get that it won't tank our resume. I get that it won't, like, crush us in the big picture. I just can't personally stomach it if we get another loss to John Calipari and then Kenny Payne. Just cannot happen. 4 o'clock
This
hour.
is the last step of the revival here.
This it's a necessary step. 4 o'clock hours up next. We'll take more text from you guys after the break. It's the Mike Rutherford Show, presented by United Mechanical, 1450 The Big X. always say want to say breakfast because it doesn't rhyme. It's my fault. I'm not second guessing my guy B Sim. Which, by the way, B Sim, we need to help get Pierre Ronald to Louisville. That's I know Brandon and Ray Jean are still close. We need Pierre Rondo in a Louisville jersey in about 5 years.
He looked ridiculous.
He looked. I mean, I texted David. I'm like, when are you going to do something for us, man? Like, congrats on your 21-point win over Ballard. Also, can you send us some damn players? You've had like 3 D1 guys. I know one just transferred to the coach that ended up getting fired because of that. That was a little shady dealings. They had these revealed texts about with the mom and like how we've got your housing situation set up, and we got you. And then he's gone.
Yeah,
you can't. I mean, you can do that. It's happening everywhere. You can't let the text get out.
Can't get caught.
And that's what. By the way, I just clicked on Kenny Payne's Twitter profile because Kenny Payne is trending on my Twitter, and I was like, well, what are other people saying? And his account came up, and I was like, does he block me? His most recent tweet is from February 11th, 2024. It's a happy birthday, Tyler Johnson. Hope you have a great day. And the picture that he used is a picture of what appears to be Kenny Payne yelling at Tyler, and Tyler staring out at the distance with no interest whatsoever in what his head coach is telling. That's his last tweet. February 11th, 2024.
Maybe you're thinking about the tights thing, right?
And then like the last tweet before that was happy birthday, Trey. Hope you have a great day. Also a picture of him attempting to talk to Trey White, and Trey White looking very confused and not at all interested. Trey White was great last night for Kansas, by the way.
I was watching the game the other day, and hearing this said out loud, Trey White was excellent for Kansas. I was like, geez, what? It just blew me away.
He's been good everywhere besides here.
I was like, Jesus, that is not a great sign for a
And he was like the one player on our team where people were like, this guy sucks.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. And like he's been on 3 tournament teams, the other 3 places, and he's been really good.
Yep.
Maybe it was just us.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm not even going to use us.
Yeah.
I had no part in that. I'll say that. It was Kenny Payne.
Not a great sign.
502-414-1450 is the Game Day Men's Health text line. The Penn State tweets also are just pure fun. This is absolutely insane what they've done. They fired a coach who took him to the Final Four
with no plan.
And had no plan whatsoever for how this was going to work. And now, I don't know where they turn at this. They probably might get Brian Dabble.
I mean, Dabble's, and that's just, you're hiring a fired coach after you fired a guy. It's. I think they thought that Matt Rule was going to come. He has a relationship with him with the AD. I think that everyone thought that was in the bag immediately, and he flat out was just like, "No, I'm good.
I'm fine."
Yeah. So I think that was their main. I think that was what they thought, and it just really unraveled once that didn't work out.
So the Will Stein introductory press conference is about to go down. I think it's just starting. Apparently, Cutter Bowley's there. Roman, come on, come on now.
What's he gonna say?
He's not talking, but he's there to take in the press conference. Coach, you know who I am? I don't even know how he talked. I don't know why I'm using the accent to describe Cutter. It's more Cutter fans that we're impersonating here.
Matches his hair.
Yeah. Willie Rodriguez and Ty Bryant also there apparently. We'll see what happens. I mean, do we think that there's any sort of direct or indirect shot at Louisville taken during this press conference?
Yes.
No.
Key says no. Roman says yes.
I'm going no.
I mean, he'll have to address the fact that he's got ties to Louisville, but I don't think it's gonna be. I don't think we get an L's down. We didn't get an L's down last night when he did the Y at midcourt. It was just a lot of fist pumping.
We'll address that 82-14 deficit over the last 2 games.
You think so?
82-14.
That's the only aspect is that they've been down bad in the rivalry for the last 2 years, and you got to sell the fans in some way.
And it's an easy win.
Got to make a joke about how he's not letting that happen again.
Maybe there. I don't know if he goes negative to Louisville as much as he addresses the fact that he has to mention the rivalry though. So I don't know.
It's going to get brought up.
Yeah.
We had the news I think late last night that he's bringing in Justin Burke, another former Louisville quarterback, and another Lexington. Well, Will's a Louisville native, but Justin Burke grew up in Lexington to be his offensive coordinator. Burke most recently worked at UTSA, where Stein also worked before he took the job at Oregon. I mean, Adam Froman's got to be like, what the hell?
Yeah, I know, right?
I'm available. Bring me up. Like Hunter Cantwell's like, I mean, I'm doing pretty well at Christian Academy.
Yeah. I'm wondering just how many guys he brings in with Louisville ties. He's trying to bring Oregon's GM or their director of player personnel, whatever, to be his GM. That's a strong move.
Jeez, that would be a strong move.
That's a strong move. So I'm really interested to see how many guys he can bring in from Oregon. They've got really good backup quarterbacks who haven't been able to get on the field, and obviously Kentucky needs a quarterback at least to compete with Bowley. So it's a really interesting aspect. I think I like Will Stein a lot. I've been cheering for that guy as a coach for years now. I'm not going to cheer nearly as hard, but I'm interested. It's just interesting to see what he does there. I just wish it was somewhere else because I really look forward to when he was going to get a head coaching job so I can just keep following the guy. But It is what it is.
I hope he loses every game.
I do too. That's where I am. I hope he loses and then rebounds, gets a second chance at like a Sun Belt school, crushes it, and then goes to like Oklahoma and is fantastic there. But I do hope that he loses every game at UK. I can't help it. I mean, I hope he loses to South Alabama, game 1 next year, or whoever they play first game.
They could actually lose that game if it is South Alabama.
They play them next year.
Solid program.
That's all I know. Yeah. We'll see what happens on that front, though. If I've gotten the text one time, I think I've gotten it 10 times. Like, is he going to bring Charlie in to be the defensive coordinator? I'm like, I think Charlie is very content being retired and rich at this point. I don't know if Charlie wants to go to UK and be the defensive coordinator.
Charlie pops up in random spots. And I'm like, he's still around, and it blows my mind because he's loaded.
The amount of Louisville fans that were shocked to see him at Alabama sidelines during the playoff a couple of years, they're like, "Is that Charlie Strong?" I was like, "Yeah." It's like, is he on the Buccaneers?
When he cut the wrestling promo with Urban Meyer down in Jacksonville. He's everywhere, man. And I think, he's just living it up, and I don't see that happening at all. But
is he coaching with the Buccaneers still now?
He's with Tampa
Bay. Yeah. It's what I thought.
Which also surprised me.
I don't think he's doing much. I think he's just kind of like he's there for the vibes.
Just living in Florida. He's retiring in Florida essentially.
Not a bad life.
Part-time job. Not a bad deal.
I don't know if you're getting him back out of there. I think Alabama was the one job where he was like, I'll be an analyst. Yeah. Like, let me hang out there. Now he's pretty content.
He's just staying busy.
I don't think you can bring him back to the Bluegrass State. Yeah. I don't know if he's allowed back here.
Yeah.
We'll see. 502-414-1450 is the Game Day Men's Health text line. Let's get back to your thoughts here on this Game Day and Signing Day edition of the show. Texter says, Spencer Legg pointing at Kenny Payne after knocking down a three-pointer in garbage time. Cards win 93-81. And it's the gif from Remember the Titans of the white linebacker staring down and pointing at the racist other coach. Who's the linebacker who gets hurt? What's his name?
Bertier.
Gary Bertier.
Yeah.
It's him doing the point right at him. God, it would make my entire life.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Classless, sure. Don't care. This is one of the times where I don't care about taking the high road.
Yeah.
I need somebody just to pants Kenny Payne during the game. Just go down there, just pants him.
I kind of want to see. I want to see Pat Kelsey disappointed at the end of this game with what happens, what his team does.
Yeah.
In a classless
in the handshake line,
just for one time, he'll get past it.
It's like we have no players that have any sort of history with Kenny Payne either. There's no. It's like, why did Isaac McNeely just no handshake Kenny Payne? Do the whole. Do you remember the Tom Crane thing where? I mean, Tom was trying way too hard, but he took over the Indiana job, and one of the assistants during the time when Kelvin Sampson got the program put on probation had taken a job at Michigan. He was kind of the defensive coordinator for the Michigan basketball team, and after Indiana upset Michigan to clinch a share of the Big Ten title. He accosts the guy after the game, with cameras on him, where he's like, "You helped ruin the program. You tried to ruin the program." He's like in his face, and the guy's like, "All right, man, like you're doing way too much." I need one of our guys to do that with Kenny Payne, where it's like Brian Cloman's just like, "You tried to ruin the program." He's like, "I don't even know who you are. Stop."
I wanted to be the most unassuming player, though. I don't know who that would be.
Give me Cole Sherman. No, Zugris. Zugris out there.
I can actually see from Zugris.
He's intense, but he's from using Greece like 5 months ago. He's got no knowledge. He has no idea he didn't know who Donovan Mitchell was when he was here at the game. He definitely doesn't know who Kenny Payne is. Just him getting up in Kenny Payne's face where he's throwing an L's down in his face or something. It'd be great.
That would be good.
Dave, teacher from Jeffersonville, texted in and said, first, yesterday I used a Hoopsters coupon from shoppingkentuckiana.com. and only paid half price for my meal. There you go. While listening to the Rutherford Show, how is that possible? Asked Mike or Roman. Shop at KentuckyAnna.com. Place to go. Half price gift cards all Christmas season long. Part B, big game tonight. I cannot wait. If Frew plays a B-plus game, I don't see any way that we lose. If either Michael or Conwell score 20, I think there's no way that we lose. If all of that happens, we're going to win by 10+. Number 3, I'm sick of losing Kentucky guys. This time a 4-star defensive lineman to Purdue. For real, but we did flip an O-lineman from USF. Yeah, Josiah Hope can't make up his mind. He was committed to Purdue, flipped to us, flipped back to Purdue today. Look, I mean, you want to go play football for Purdue. I don't know. Yeah.
I just want to say, I don't know if these guys realize how much effort it takes to do these signing day posts and not to post them. I mean, do they care about me at all? I mean, what's going on here?
I saw that one in the holster. And when I saw that he flipped, I was like, can I rework this so like we can justify like having like Josiah Hope flips? Here's Keith's breakdown of him, and I was like, it's probably nobody wants to read that, I guess, today. But yeah,
Oh yeah, not cool, man. Not
It's
cool.
like when I was the only college basketball full-time guy at SB Nation in the 2014-15 year. You know, when Kentucky was undefeated, it was the biggest story in college basketball. And every time they were remotely close to losing in the second half, we had to get like a pre-write. I had to be like, all right, I need somebody on this. You got to be watching this. There's a graveyard of like Kentucky's undefeated season comes to a close with blank loss to Texas A&M post that we just never, you know, you got 600 words in and it was like, well,
Yeah, I'm just wasting my time here.
on the flip side, the year that Gonzaga almost went undefeated, like you know, their games are like tipping off at 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
They lost on the last day of the regular season at 1 a.m. to BYU.
awful.
And it was the one time where I was like, they'll find a way to win. I'm not getting out of bed. It's going to be fine. And like Mary rolls over and she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, bleeping Zags just lost to BYU. Like they go to the West Coast Conference now with one loss at the end of the season. We've got to have something up about this.
Right.
It's terrible. It's the worst. Like work that doesn't ended up being completely worthless is the worst. Texas says before the 2005 Conference USA tournament, the last time I knew it's stalwart text. The last time John Calipari lost a regular season home game to Louisville was February 27th, 2005, in an ugly 53-44 score. I think I was at that game. Calipari, I was looking at his stats earlier against us. So he was 2-0 against us when he was at UMass back in the day. I only remember one of those games. We played him, I think in '97. It was one of those weird February non-conference games that we always had scheduled. And it was the refuse to lose UMass team, but they just lost like a week before. And the only thing that I remember was we won the tip. Everybody ran the wrong way besides Tick Rogers. And he kind of like looked around and was like, that's our basket. And went in for like an uncontested dunk and like looked around and they're like, that's 2 points. I was like, and everybody screwed up. It was a great moment. I was like, all right, here we go. And then we lost a pretty competitive game. So he was 2-0 against us at UMass. He was 4-5 against us when he was at Memphis State. And then, unfortunately, 13-3 against us when he was at Kentucky. So 19-8 lifetime. Would love to take that down to 19-9 today. Texture says, so are Cal and Stanford permanently exempt from the ACC SEC challenge since they aren't on the Atlantic coast? They didn't play in it last year either. Is that what happened?
I think
That's
so.
a good question. You think that
Feels
has-
very unfair.
It does,
These
but
are big games.
At least makes sense, I guess. That's a good question.
Do we want them in this challenge?
Is that part of the deal where it was like you can hang out with us, but like you can't go to the parties with us. You can't you can't do that.
That's thinking up the party with us. You can't have the weird kid walking in the party with you, Mike.
Let's see. Stanford, they have they've played. The women's team played in it last year. The men's team has not played in it. Cal did play in it last year. They are 0-1.
Who they play?
Let's find out. We're very invested now in finding out what's going on with the West Coast.
There's no real geographical way to.
They lost to Missouri 98-93.
Figure it's gonna be Missouri or Oklahoma. I mean, you're trying to get as close as possible, but
poor Stanford. They're just like, yeah, you can't.
Stay out there.
They're like, we were in the ACC tournament. We weren't one of the teams that didn't make it. You're gonna let NC State play? They're like, yeah, they're ranked. What do you want us to do? Sorry, you guys can just. You got a fun game scheduled against Utah. Go out there and play it. Cal beat Utah last night. Texter says, to answer your question, I can't imagine that that's the case because Cal did play in it last year, but kind of sucks for Stanford that 2 years in a row they're the designated survivor, one of the designated survivors. Texter says, I think Michael goes off tonight. 25-plus points. He always seems to embrace the pressure, and I think he feeds off the energy of a hostile crowd. Side note, Park Mope must have heard the criticism of being too whiny after games and overcompensated because he was trying way too hard to come off as calm and collected after their loss. He is as phony as they come. There's an element of, there's a Craig Thorpian element to Mark Pope, and I hate to even invoke that name, just personality-wise.
Yeah, throwing it back.
But
yeah, it's fair.
You always got the notion that Craig Thorpe was trying to be who the fan base wanted him to be when things started going astray.
Can't do that.
I mean, I've told this story before. I'll tell it again. When the first summer he had the job, players, because I was the same age as the guys that were playing there, a lot of them were saying, he comes in here in January. He's very much the opposite of Bobby. He's players first, and he's like, guys, we're going to be pals here. And he's like, guys immediately just stop going to class, and they're reeking of weed when they show up at the team facility. And he kind of realized when fall camp rolled around, and nobody bought it. Everybody was like, yeah, you showed us who you are. We're not exactly going to buy this. And I think Cragthorpe to the fans was trying to do, like, every now and then he'd be like, the Trent guy, he's a freaking stud. Don't say one bad word about him. It's like, nobody, we're talking about you. Nobody's saying anything bad about him. We're pissed off that you lost to Kentucky for a third straight year.
Yeah.
Like, he tried way too hard. And it does kind of feel like Mark Pope is trying to figure out how to present himself to the fan base in times of turmoil, and it comes off as a little bit phony.
And it's weird because you're a former player, like, just go out there and just be yourself, be genuine, and you're gonna get more of a leash than anybody else. And the thing about it, he's also coming off a very good first year, so
yeah,
it's just it adds to the weirdness factor to me because I don't know. I was shocked to see how he's been handling things. So I'm interested to see if it changes if they start winning. Because I do think if they get back Jane Quindens or get him and get Jalen Lowe back, things will turn around at least a little bit for him.
All that matters is winning. I mean, you can
go win games. And
he can be the biggest dork in the world if they're winning, and it comes off as folksy and charming.
Yep.
If you are losing games like you're losing, you can talk the exact same way, and you come off as a pansy that just isn't cut out for this job.
Yeah.
And that's the way that it goes. We've seen the same thing here. It's not specific to Kentucky. It's everywhere.
It's true.
People, Bobby Petrino was, he's passionate when he was winning. He was a scumbag psycho when he started losing. Yeah. That's the way that it works around there.
Yeah, pretty much.
Texas Riddler here. Football postseason was more enjoyable when it was decided by a computer. As far as the game tonight, what Kaysen said is how I feel towards KP. P.S. Josh lawsuit. He's going to every day. He's just going to text us about the Josh Hurd suing for the banner. That's what the Riddler does every single day. The computer rankings, the CFP rankings that came out last night. I did love the Cover 3 podcast with Bud Elliott. Mm-hmm. They 100% called this at the beginning. They were like, look at the standings right now. They are going to have to justify jumping Alabama up a spot because right now they're on the chopping block. If BYU wins the Big 12 title, all of a sudden the SEC runner-up is going to be left out of the playoff.
Yep.
So they've got to jump Alabama up, despite the fact that they barely beat a bad Auburn team.
Yep.
And last night, hearing them talk about it and trying to justify it was the funniest thing.
Auburn's a tough place to play.
Like, it's a tough place to play. Sometimes margin of victories aren't over well. It's like, no. You just jump them up for absolutely no reason because you realize, crap, we might have the second best SEC team left out of the playoff if we don't do this.
Yeah, it was really funny. They even mentioned that they're about 17 at one point. It's like, yeah, but they blew the lead. Like, what are we doing? And I love Pat Ford. He's like, Kentucky beat Auburn at Auburn. So it's just, and I think that's the negative. Obviously, is that the money plays a factor in this, and I think if it didn't, it would work. And I'm not saying go back to the computer rankings, but I do think that having it based on pure metrics and pure numbers and keeping a human element out of it in some way, if they could do that, which the BCS technically did, it would work out much better. But there's no way that's ever going to happen because there's just too much money involved.
Yeah. But we have an active Jeff Brom on Twitter now for the first time since August 1st.
His wife tweeted yesterday for the first time
really?
Ever. Yes.
He just all he did was retweet the cards greater than cat sign post from last week, and then just retweeted the cards tape highlight video that got posted a couple nights ago.
It's pretty rare.
He's out there. He's sending us messages, back-to-back retweets.
Maybe it's the NIL, and now he's just he's re-energized. I don't know.
What if you just tweeted like bleep Kenny Payne in 2 seconds? Someone on the YouTube sent him the video of Will Stein walking out. I can't read that. I can't. There's a lot of pyrotechnics going on as Will Stein walks out. It's a funny joke. I can't read the joke. Texter says, I can't wait to beat that ass tonight. Maybe Zoo and Kaysen can get a bench-clearing brawl going so we can see Kenny Payne sitting on the bench front and center. Cards by 13.
The most amazing video I've ever seen in my life. He never moved.
Couldn't have been more on brand. just he sat there for the only person sitting there. No, trying to hold anybody back. And I did love the Arkansas fans who were like, they knew if Calipari got all those coaches are out there. Somebody had to coach the team. Like, they don't toss coaches for leaving the bench. They're breaking up the fight. He just didn't move.
He didn't react in any way, shape, or form. It was almost like he was just like a dead man sitting there. And I'm like, what is going on?
I told you,
amazing.
I watched every episode of the Calipari series on Vice last year, which I thought was great. The Patino one and it was like a hidden gem because I don't think that many people watched it. The amount of time that Kenny Payne was on camera sitting and saying nothing, it was 98% of his screen time. There was Chin Coleman's constantly talking. Calipari's obviously talking a lot. There was one halftime where they were in the midst of their big losing streak, and he got up there and he's like cussing a little bit, and but it was just like like, how bad do you guys bleeping want it? Like the same generic like just hollow, meaningless filth that we heard throughout his time at Louisville. Every other clip of him was just like sitting on a chair in the background, like looking at the players and just doing nothing.
Yeah.
I think that's all he can do.
It's funny. It's weird that I have these memories, but it's literally from the last time I was on. We were talking to Kenny Payne. We were talking about him because that was when he was the candidate. And I think you said something. He was like, I don't even know what his voice sounds like. And I remember thinking.
That was the Mickey Mouse day where I started doing the Mickey Mouse impersonation. Like, what if this guy talks at his introductory press conference and he's like, give me a C! And we're all like, what?
But I think
come on, Cards fans, let's go. We're like, I don't feel as confident about this hire now.
I don't think anyone knew what he was going to be then, and I think now everyone just knows, and it's just coming out more obviously that this is what he's always been, and it was just pure like reputation, I guess, in a sense that he got the head coaching job because he probably was never really actually actively coaching anybody anywhere, or at least not in the recent history. So. I don't know. It's a very interesting aspect to me of just he went back to Arkansas immediately, and then it's just obvious that they're giving him a ton of money just to sit there.
$900K.
Yeah,
highest paid assistant in Arkansas history. Nuts. Source tells Football Scoop, by the way, that upper-level university administration is now getting involved in the Penn State search for the first time. Yeah. My God, that's Neely Bendaputi's music. Here she comes. Break it down. Burn it.
They gotta go with Dabo. The
gotta hire a Koch brother pick.
Here's the thing: the guy that the Terry Smith, who's their interim, is a big Joe Paterno guy, and you do not want that coming back in that program, and it's gonna come back tenfold because the guys that want him to coach are all Joe Pie guys, and that is just a recipe for an absolute nightmare situation. But it's already bad. It's going to get so much worse if you bring a Joe Pie guy back because they're going to want to really honor that guy immediately. And he wore the pin for one of the games. It's going to get really messy.
Did you see the Penn State like fan account? I don't know who it was, but they shared a picture of just Paterno's grave and said, "All right, who's ready to start digging?"
Jeez.
Oh, I mean that's desperate times.
Desperate is
Texter says, I seriously think that we match up very well against Arkansas.
Me too.
Acuff, Michael, probably the closest matchup we have skill-wise. Conwell, DJ Wagner. There's no way that Wagbag stops Conwell. Conwell should have a big game. McNeely, Carter Knox. Same as Conwell. Knox has been not much of an offensive threat, so McNeely should have no issues guarding him. Nick Pringle, Hadley. I don't think Pringle will be a difference maker. I don't think Hadley will have the best offensive game as he won't have as many mismatches to exploit. Brazil is a twig compared to Frew. Lots of Arkansas success this season comes from Brazil grabbing boards and getting in transition or offensive boards to get extra possessions. He won't be able to do that against Fruperman. Depth, we are just better. Woolley and Colby Bryant are great. Let's get this dub.
I like that.
Very confident here.
Fruperman is
wow. Nobody said that so far.
Let's call Brazil a twig.
I wouldn't call Trevin Brazil a twig. He's not the strongest guy in the world. He's not the skinniest guy in the world, and he's also, a supreme athlete.
Yeah,
but Frew could bully him a little bit if he wanted to. We just haven't really seen that out of Sananda so far this year.
I do think that there's a possibility that the paint is going to be a big factor in this game, offensively and defensively. I think if you can get Frew going against these bigs that aren't necessarily that great in that aspect, those guys don't want to live in that world.
Yeah.
Brazil is very happy to be out on the three-point line and things like that. So if you can get in the paint and make this game about being in the paint, I think that's a win for Louisville. That's just Arkansas is kind of a finesse team in a way to me. They're super athletic. They're very talented. Don't get me wrong, but they're not. I don't look at that team as a team that really wants to get down there and bang in the box. And so that's something that I think it could be a big factor. And that's where Frew, he plays a big factor. I think the Kanai can play a big factor in this game as well.
I totally agree. Yeah. We out-toughed Cincinnati to an extent. We certainly were more physical than Kentucky. When you look at Arkansas and you look at some of the bodies they have, and like they passed the warm up test. You look out there and you're like, damn, like these dudes are flying. They're some pretty big guys. That they don't play an overly physical brand of basketball, and I think that's where like Cam Boozer's great. He's 6'9". He struggled with finishing over length. He just bullied them in the post, and that's not what he like. He's really really good. He can't do that against the best big men in college basketball, but he did it against Arkansas. We don't have a Cam Boozer, but we do have guys that I think are willing to go to war in the paint. We can be the more physical team tonight.
Here's the other thing that you saw from Cam Boozer. He started off shooting, taking jumpers, and then he was just like, I can just do what I want.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I mean, you could just see it happen. He was like, I'm just going to stop shooting these jumpers. He took guys off the dribble. He got down low, and he just kept going back at him. And I think, I don't know if Louisville has that guy specifically. I mean, from a standpoint, they can really take that part of the game and just kind of really continuously do it. But I do think as a whole, they can do that. And I think driving to the hole, back to Rami's point, taking guys off the dribble, getting into the paint is going to be a really big factor. And I think that's, again, I think Pat Kelsey has pointed this out. That's where they want to live. That's where their start of their offense is.
Paint touches.
And if they can get that going, it's a better aspect of their offense than just taking too many jumpers. Because, of course, you do have the opportunity or the potential for them missing jumpers, and then they naturally, for every team that's full of shooters, they start shooting more, so.
Going to break. Final hour of the show is coming up next. We're never scared. Just like Bone Crush. Here on the Big X. Here we go. That's how you know it's the final hour of a game day edition of the Mike Rutherford Show, presented by United Mechanical and Nexus Plus, 1450-96.1 Big X Sports Radio. Hey, a quick reminder, if you've been hurt in an accident or on the job and you're looking for the best way to get back on your feet, the Collier Law Firm has you covered. Deeply rooted in Louisville, been here for over 10 years, over a decade of success. The Collier Law Firm has done a fantastic job at getting people just like you back on their feet with the most possible money for their recovery. And a big part of that is that they let you keep the most money for your recovery by starting their attorney fees at just 25%, not 45 or 50% like some big-time firms out there. Go to CollierLawFirm.com. That's C-O-L-Y-E-R lawfirm.com for more information. You can also call them directly at 502-736-8141. Hurt in an accident or hurt on the job, call your law firm. We've got Keith Wynn in the house today. We've also got Roman Kelly, as always. Now, I say as always. You weren't on the show yesterday. We missed you. When he's not calling college sports, we usually have Roman Kelly here, getting you ready for tip-off between Louisville and Arkansas, which is now less than 3 hours away. It's a big one for the Cards. And I will say, regardless of how tonight turns out, and I will die a little bit inside if we lose to Kenny Payne, it does feel so good. It feels a little bit like the Cincinnati game a couple weeks ago, where we're back to having the entire fan base collectively like counting down the time until games like this and feeling emotionally invested. Even last year, you know, there were more people invested, but there was still, I think, a little bit of like you got to prove it to me. And then we had that stretch about this time of the year where the injuries crept up and we got blasted by Ole Miss in this challenge. We had, we lost 3 straight games, and I think that delayed the buy-in a little bit. And now, I mean, to have a 6th-ranked team going down, playing a John Calipari coach team in a top 25 versus top 25 matchup, it feels good to have nights like this back because they've been absent for far too long.
Yeah, I plan my days around the basketball games now, and I can count how many games I watched after the month of November in the Kenny Payne era. You know, it's completely checked out.
Sure.
You know, it was no point in even turning on the game.
Watched them all.
So did I. And I blamed nobody who didn't. However you had to exist. That's what I think I said. Like, however you have to get through this.
Yeah.
Just get through it.
And it was just, like being able to, talk to, another thing, just being able to talk to coworkers and talk about the game last night. People talking about the game coming up. I've got, my supervisor at work is an IU fan. Just being able to talk about basketball in a way that you can talk about it with pride and excitement. It's just it's amazing how far we got down to get back to where we are. And I think the other aspect that just needs to be pointed out every single time is how much Pat Kelsey has meant to that factor, and how having a coach that feels like he's prideful of being here and really excited about being here. Even when things weren't at the Kenny Payne level, I never felt that with Chris Mack. And a guy who feels like he's it's a privilege to be here, I guess is the best way to put it. It's just nice, man. It feels like you're really part of the elite class of college basketball again. That's the way it should be.
The comforting thing right now, and I know it's still early in the season, but a lot of people brought up the parallels between the start of the Chris Mack era here and the start of the Pat Kelsey era here. And, they both overachieved in year one, made the NCAA tournament when people didn't think they were going to, lost in the first round. They were not viewed as like a legit Final Four contender or anything like that, and then had higher expectations going into year two. I think the prestige of being the man in a place like this where college basketball has been everything for generations, I think it got to Chris Mack a little bit. He became kind of this whole, like, carried himself differently. You'd see him out and about, and he wasn't as – you kind of had to go up to him and talk a little bit, and he was quickly dismissive. And, he was very aware of the fact that he had been viewed as, like, this one of the best coaches in college basketball the year before, and that he had a top 10 team going into that season. I don't think Pat Kelsey, nothing seems to have changed.
Nothing.
He's bringing the same passion. He's preaching the same types of things. He clearly has put just as much effort during the offseason into building a culture and getting everybody swimming the same way with all these new pieces. Like, he comes off as the same dude. Mm-hmm. And that's comforting because I think we all know if you get Louisville basketball rolling, you become the unofficial mayor of this city.
Exactly.
And you can do whatever you want.
Right.
And that can get you into trouble.
Yeah.
And it feels like we've got a guy, and I know it's too early, maybe things can change 5, 10, 20 years down the line, but it does feel like we've got the right guy who has the right type of psychotic basketball mindset and enough humility to be able to handle all this. Like, I think this dude just cares about winning at a high level, and that's awesome.
And I do think that I think that he has a throwback kind of mindset from a coach of understanding that being a coach at the college level is also connecting with the community of your team.
Sure.
And I think I go back to when he was passing out the season tickets, in the off season, and goes into hoops or wherever it was, and just sits down at the table, and that is just he hasn't the ego is not there. There's a point where some guys will be like, I'm not doing that. That's just not what and there's also a point where you might say, I don't want to deal with the fact that I am a kind of a celebrity, and I'm not going to be able to just walk back out of that place. People are going to want autographs, and I'm going to be there for an hour. I think that's just, he loves that kind of thing. Going to the student activity center back, when he first got hired, and you go into the game, like that stuff, that used to be what college sports was about.
Sure.
Right. And I think that having that mindset is so refreshing, but it's also just, I'm 42 years old now. It takes me back to being at that age. It's like, man, that would have been so cool.
I mean, going to the student section after games.
Yeah,
I do love that he did it against Kentucky, which is obviously he did it like against NJIT.
Yeah.
There weren't that many people up there. It was break, and he still wanted to reward those kids for showing up and being loud. Like, that's awesome. Stuff like that matters.
I love that coach from his mom.
It seems like to me he puts so much respect, and the notion of where he is right now all comes from everyone who's helped him in the past.
Sure.
That's a great point.
I think that plays such a big factor in, like, gosh, like when he makes those comments a year ago from now, like, I still feel this way when I walk into my office here at University of Louisville, and it's this big, massive office and stuff. He knows that he wouldn't be here without all of those guys and coaches above him that have helped him along the way. And I think that's kind of where I don't really worry about him losing that level-headedness because of that.
He's grounded.
He is, every question you ask him, he's going to find a way to make a point about how, if there's a point that his mentor taught him within whatever you're asking him. So I think that kind of plays a big factor in why he seems to be that way.
Yeah.
To Keith's earlier point, too, I mean, he's mentioned this himself. He goes all in whatever community he's a part of. Mm-hmm. He said, when I was at Winthrop, I was trying to get involved in as many things there as I could. When I went to Charleston, I created the Our City hashtag, and we made that a big thing, and I was getting out there to the big events there and just doing whatever I could. Got the job at Louisville. They immediately, I go to the Derby. He's like, I know nothing about horse racing. He very clearly, like, that's part of his DNA. Is he doesn't want to just be the basketball coach for the program, and it's especially important in a place like this where we are a big city without big pro sports teams, and as a result, the Louisville teams in Kentucky, even though it's not in the city, they are kind of like the de facto pro sports teams here. So the U of L athletics becomes an extension of the city. You can't just be the U of L coach. You're the Louisville coach. Yep. And that changes the job description. I think he understands that better than a lot of people that have been here before.
Yeah, and I think, I go back to when, you see Rick at a bar after a big win, taking pictures and doing autographs at the bar, with his coaching staff. And he was a larger-than-life guy, but he understood that he's just part of the city.
Yeah.
You're not bigger than the city as a coach here. You're a part of it.
I think he kind of understood it.
Right.
I think there was definitely a part of him that did think that he was bigger than the city.
That's true. But, I think that at least to a degree, felt that way. But, I think that Pat is just a part of what we do here. And I really commend him for it because it's a huge factor. I enjoy having coaches who represent the programs well. That's just a part of me as a fan of Louisville. And I can't say enough about how happy I am to just be able to be proud of the basketball coach and also just enjoy the way he does his job. It's just nice. It's a fun aspect of it. And it makes it, I think it's part of the buy-in, at least for me. And I think it's a big part of the buy-in for a lot of fans that, you have somebody that you watch the press conference because you want to hear what he says about the game. I love that he gets into the game too. Like the aspects of what happened in the game. It's not just coach speak all the time.
Yeah.
There's just so many aspects of that are so great.
He understands vibes, fellas.
He definitely understands vibes. By the way, the Edgeworth kid is now officially signed with Louisville. We've got that.
Still waiting on Brick's chair.
Still waiting on Brick's chair. Now, he's got a picture of himself signing with Edgeworth and standing in.
So I'm feeling a little bit better, but it was getting I was like, this is getting a little late. And those guys signed, quote unquote, signed a few hours ago. Yeah. I was like, it should be official by now, but I'm sure it's coming now. They both play for the same high school, so sure it's just a matter of time for Brick's Cherry. And then at that point, they've got Crew Melidor, which is one of their offensive linemen commits as the only guy left after that.
We've also got Will Stein is having the press conference as it goes on right now. I'm trying to find some quotes. What's the likelihood that somebody has put these two phrases together in a tweet as of right now? Will Stein and crushing it. I feel every introductory press conference, there's like the whole like he's crushing it right now.
Yeah,
I'm looking it up right now.
He's definitely winning the press conference.
He's winning the press conference right now.
Yeah.
I mean, every press conference we've ever had. I mean, even with Kenny Payne, where I was like, I'm telling you this is a mistake. It's the wrong guy. Like, the press conference is happening, and I'm like, all right, I'm liking this. Like, it does feel good. I'm glad seeing all these former players. We'll see if he's, in fact, crushing it. He does say this, we're a national brand. I mean, technically, in the same way that, like, everybody is a national. I mean, North Texas is a national brand as well.
Yeah.
But he said there's no reason we can't be successful here. The excuses are done. I mean, it's what you want to hear from him at that point. We'll see if he can actually, make that happening. He's saying we're going to play an exciting brand of football, all this good stuff. Nothing that seems overly shocking here. No mentions of Louisville that I can see so far. Losers think of winners. Winners think of winning. Okay.
Don't really know what that means, but okay. Yeah,
sure.
I'll take it. Sure.
Why not? He said everyone wants to work with Will Stein, talking about himself in the third person. Yeah. And everyone wants to work at the University of Kentucky.
Really?
Yeah.
You went to third person?
Went to third person very quickly.
Yeah.
It's too early for that.
Way too early for that.
It's also a little bit weird. What does that mean? Like
Jonathan Moxon's just one man.
Yeah. I'm hoping the context is that came from a question of what's your staff going to look like, and he was wording it in a way that's just worded poorly, because that's a really awful quote to me.
It's not great.
But,
we have some great coordinators that are going to follow along. Those haven't been announced yet, but everyone wants to work with Will Stein and at the University of Kentucky.
I'm just hoping that was just worded poorly out of his mouth.
It's going to his head. The little old Will Stein that I knew. Holy Spirit Will Stein, he's gone. It's now BBN Will Stein. He's got Calipari syndrome. It's gone to his head. It's over. It's done. It's completely done. Game Day Men's Health text line 502-414-1450. If you've got football thoughts, basketball thoughts, whatever, we will continue to take them here. Texters, we've gotten to 234 on the text line. These are when the texts started coming in. There's no way we're getting to all the texts today. Apologies. It's a big day. Texas, Isaac Brown is not worth breaking the bank. He was maybe half committed this season. Get people that want to play and reward them with NIL. I think a fully healthy, fully focused Isaac Brown is absolutely worth breaking the bank.
Yeah, I just don't know if you get that.
The problem is, like, schools like Texas and others they also think that he's worth breaking the bank. Right. And they got more of a bank to break than we do, unfortunately. Yeah. I mean, he's
fair to see when you have Kewan Brown come in and look, just as good. I think it's fair to say those are the type of discussions and conversations that Brom and the staff are going to make. Are you going to keep paying this guy the amount that you have to, or do you say, hey, let's spread that out to the rest of the roster and go with other guys who've shown they can do well?
Give Kewan a blank check. Give him the number 1 jersey.
They're not doing that. Tell you right now. I think the likelihood of them not bringing back any of those 3 running backs is stronger than any other possibility.
You mean than 1 than 3?
Yes.
1 out of the 3?
Yeah. As of right now, that's what I'll say. There's no chance Duke comes back. It's not. Duke doesn't want to be here. They don't really want Duke to be here. It was Duke kind of, I think, in his mind, got caught up in the Isaac Brown and Duke Watson hype, which was the entire offseason was like, we got to keep Isaac and Duke, Isaac and Duke, Isaac and Duke. Isaac's better than Duke.
Yeah.
Isaac had arrived last season. Duke thought that he arrived last season, and he kind of, I think, went through the motions, and then early on in the season was like, I don't really want to practice, and his agent was doing, like, I'll be very, very, very surprised if Duke Watson's back. I think that they'll make an effort to get Isaac back, but it would have to be Isaac really wanting to be here and probably take less money than he'll get somewhere else, and I don't think that's going to happen. And with Kewan, I mean, if Kewan wanted to play for the same amount of money that he got this year, I think that they would definitely welcome that. Kewan's like, price of the bricks going up too, man.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah.
I'm going to get something from somewhere else. I think that there's a chance that you could bring one of those guys back. I think it's a better chance that they bring none of those guys back and say,
start over.
We're good with what we got. We're going to invest in the offensive line. Look at what we did against Kentucky. We may not have an Isaac Brown back there, but we've got guys that can get us to 200 yards rushing as a team in most games.
And I think I do wonder, and this is just from from a depth standpoint, you're then going to have to go out and get at least someone from in the portal, and then it becomes what kind of money are you spending there, and that's it. And but again, this is the way the roster is set up right now. It's hard for me to wrap my head around all of it because of the fact that the depth this year, I don't want to say it got exposed, but it became an issue. And so you can't have that happen 2 years in a row. And I like the guys they have. I think that those guys can develop and be better, and I think their scheme helps everybody. Mm-hmm. But then you still have to bring in somebody. So it's interesting. But, I do think your point on Kewan Brown is also a point in the larger market factor. Everyone's going to be spending more money.
Yeah.
Because so many more teams are investing in the roster now because parity is here. Everyone sees that you can get there. Virginia's there, Vanderbilt's there, all those things like that. So schools are willing to say, you know what, we should throw our hat in the ring. I think Louisville's doing that right now, right? Mm-hmm. So, I think there's just you're going to have a harder time retaining guys, but also you're going to be paying for guys coming in anyway. So it's going to be an interesting dynamic. I don't think anybody really truly knows, but I think that your point, it might be from a standpoint of how they really balance the roster out financially, you might as well start over.
It's the NFL mindset at this point when it comes to the running back position where you got a guy that comes into the league and tears it up for 3 years. You don't want to give him a gigantic second contract because you're like, okay, we can go out and get another rookie who maybe isn't quite as good, but he's close enough to justify the payroll that we can invest other places. I think it's not just this season. I think they're looking back at the last 3 years and saying, look,
yes,
we've had our presumed starting running back get hurt pretty much every year.
Yeah.
And then another guy to step in and do just what he was doing. It was Isaac a couple years ago. And hell, it was Jawar originally.
Garindo and Jawar.
And, then
Duke and Isaac last year.
Duke and Isaac stepped up last year when we thought it was going to be Mo Turner and Don Chaney. And then this year, towards the end of the season, we got guys that, were playing against Corbin High School.
Kewan stepped up massively.
Playing well. Kewan was great this year. I think they're kind of like, we can get solid production. We could Isaac's spectacular, but we don't have $3 million to throw at him for next year.
And I think that's the thing. Isaac is a step above, and he's a game changer. But if you can really go by committee, I think as long as you have guys that are buying into it, which I think in most situations most guys can. You look at other schools; there are not a lot of feature backs all over the country anymore. But I think the bigger thing is if you can get a really good offensive line, you can put just about anybody back there. But I think it opens up everything else for the offense, which this year was not there. And I think that was the other aspect is that at the beginning of the season, they couldn't do anything really well on the offense. Once they got the run game going, you still figured out that they still can't pass the ball like they're supposed to.
Yeah.
The offensive line was just not where they needed to be. And realistically, they also have they didn't spend the money on the offensive line going into last year, and we saw what happened. They let a couple guys walk that they maybe could have retained if they played their cards the right way. So, I think that, maybe lessons learned, and I think you've got to spread the wealth around the roster and make sure you can get to the point where you're competing to get into the playoff because they're just there. They're just not quite there yet.
Us saying all this just guarantees that Isaac's going to rush for like 3,000 yards and be a consensus Heisman winner next season at Texas or somewhere. He's going to go the first week and 404 yards on 34 carries. Yeah. Jesus Christ. That's 100% going out.
Yeah, probably.
Texas says we should come out in a 2-3 zone on the first possession tonight. It would be absolute cinema. You tricked me. Kind of tricked me. Texas says, Lazard guy here, inject the Kentucky basketball crash out into my veins. Cal is getting dumped from the game tonight. Book it. Now that more people are saying it, I'm just getting more scared. We need some referees with some thick skin tonight. I can't take Kenny Payne. Cal would also, he'd make it as dramatic as possible where he would hand the playbook over to Kenny and bow down, get on down one knee and just be give it up for Kenny. He's get the crowd
something in his ear.
Yeah,
as he walks off.
And then Cal would be that was all Kenny. He had the entire game plan figured out. That was his scout. I did nothing for this game.
Kenny actually came into the game with the game plan for us.
He knew every tendency. He was ready to go.
I think you already know this. I'm sure you do, but I just saw that Jimmy Dykes is on the call.
Jimmy Dykes is on the call tonight.
Yeah,
Jimmy Dykes will be part of that. I mean, keep in mind, Jimmy Dykes was the women's coach at Arkansas for multiple seasons before they realized that he sucked at coaching basketball just like he did everywhere else and shouldn't be doing it anymore. He is a SEC hawk. He's an Arkansas guy. He will not speak glowingly about Louisville tonight if he does not have to. He will also, he'll find a way to work in that we probably fired Kenny Payne unjustly at some point, and it's going to make me lose my mind. He'll do it if they're up by 12, and at that point, I'm going to bed. Can't do it. I'm flipping on whatever the other ACC, SEC game is on at that time. I don't even care who it is. Give me Mississippi State versus, Stanford. We know Stanford's not playing. Whoever's playing.
Is Boston College in it this year?
Oh, they're in it.
Oh, God, that's going to be bad.
Who does Boston got? They played last night. They got beat.
They're really bad.
They've got a losing record. Earl Grant's done. Boston College immediately goes to football on Google, which is probably a good thing.
They're 2-10 in football, so
they're bringing Bill O'Brien back. They're throwing money at the sport, though.
Exactly right.
I think they play LSU tonight, who is, I think, undefeated with Matt McMahon. They're 7.5-point home underdogs against LSU.
Ooh,
they did beat Harvard at the buzzer the other day, didn't they? Or no, they beat home by 13.
Somebody. The
beat Harvard.
Yeah.
Beat Harvard.
Beat
Hampton.
Can't remember their guard that came back, but he's doing terribly.
Donald Hand Jr.
Yeah, there you go.
Donald Hand's kid. He is the whole team. The fact that he didn't go out in the portal is just whoever was advising him was malpractice. But yeah, you're right. He's shooting 16.7% from three. This guy hit like 50 challenge shots against us last year.
Yeah.
Texter says, I knew he wasn't going anywhere, but Brom confirming that he's staying is like driving behind a fire truck that pulls into your neighborhood. A little worried until you see your house is still there. Any word on Briggs Cherry's official signing? Not yet.
Not yet.
It's a good. That's a good comparison.
A good analogy, yeah.
We're probably okay.
Yeah.
But I'm reserving all of my excitement until it's official.
Yeah, that's fair. Nothing on Briggs Cherry yet, but I think if it's left tackles signing, I think they're good.
Yeah, and they've got pictures of them together signing.
So
Edgeworth, who's the 6'7", like 3?
6'7", 320.
That's big.
He's enormous.
It's a big
also,
boy.
good chance he actually has a shot to play this year. I think he's one of the best guys in the class.
I like to hear right there.
Yeah. So
Will Stein update. He has now apparently given a shout out to Steve Cragthorpe and Charlie Strong. Shout out to Steve Cragthorpe for starting him, despite him being a walk-on, and then Charlie Strong for being the guy who put him on scholarship and helping to shape his coaching career.
The coaching aspect is true. Charlie did help him a lot. Him and Justin Burke both essentially just followed him along and then until they can go their own way. So that's a pretty cool aspect of that story.
Yeah, it's a great story. Yeah. It'd just be great if it was happening anywhere else in the world besides Kentucky.
Yeah.
Will Stein will absolutely bring the spring game format that they do at Oregon to Kentucky. You know how you get better at football? Playing football.
There was a report that Penn State interviewed him and he was too raw.
I saw that, yeah.
This press conference is kind of making me wonder if he just maybe is not great at this, the presentation of himself.
I think Penn State would probably take him now, though. I think maybe him being too raw is what got him the job at Kentucky, but I think
the dude can coach. So at the end of the day, this part doesn't really matter as much, but at the same time, it's not necessarily winning the press conference, from my standpoint at least. But
we did say the best trade for college football coach today is adaptability, which I agree.
That's a great answer.
Got to adapt. Is anybody saying that he's crushing it? I'm searching Stein and crushing on. Oh no! We've just got Stoops reported to be willing to stretch his buyout, so it's not crushing for UK. No one's saying that he's crushing it. It's a loss in my eyes. Texture says UK's 10-win season in the late 70s may have been vacated too. They got put on probation for that season's recruiting method. Okay, they got 3 9-win seasons in the history of the program. Same as Jeff Brom if we win our bowl game. There we go. Texas Kelsey's Army here. What's up, Kelsey's Army? I tweeted out that stat about Kentucky only having 5 9-win seasons, and Vince Merrill liked it. His hatred for Kentucky has grown so much. I did talk to somebody who was saying that, Vince personally thanked everybody on the team after the Kentucky game. It very clearly meant a lot to him. So,
yeah, I think that exit didn't go how I don't know if he thought that part of it through. It seemed like he was surprised by the reaction, which, yeah, he probably should have seen that coming. But that's what it is.
Texas, hey, man, what the hell? I know that we're a basketball school and stuff, but if we can't afford to give the best returning running back in the country $1.5 million for him to stay, then we deserve the 8-9-win seasons we're going to get going forward, because you aren't getting over that hump if you can't give that man 1.5. I'm sure we gave Miller Moss that much or more. We didn't. To be mediocre as bleep at quarterback, so why are we just acting like we don't got it for a first-round pick at running back? One, I think that 1.5 was the initial offer that I heard from a certain school. I think it's today someone said someone else came in and was offering 2.
It's going to be more.
It's going to be more than that.
Yeah.
And I think that we're like he said, we're losing everybody on the offensive line. You spend $3 million on a running back. just for him to get his ass like kicked every time you put the ball in his hands because nobody can block for him.
Yeah.
I don't think that's.
I think the better way to phrase that, if there's a frustration, is how do we get ourselves in a situation where the roster is in the shape that you have to spread the wealth so much. And I think that's a fair thing to say because there are just too many guys, leaving the program right now, and you're gonna have to replenish. So I think that's a fair part of it, and that's to be candid, that's my frustration as a fan. But at the end of the day, maybe who knows? Maybe this new NLL talk that came out today. Who knows? Maybe there is an aspect that we're not really seeing, and they're going to have a much better financial situation than they had at the start of the day. And that remains to be seen. And maybe they can keep a guy or two that we didn't think they would be. To your point, Clev Lubin, it's going to be guys coming after him.
Yeah.
Antonio Watts might have some guys coming after him. Same boat. So
Jeff just brings Papa John out at the Memphis State game. We're bringing Papa John back into the fold. Need that money. Gotta get that money up.
In the transit.
All right, we're knucking, we're bucking. Final segment of the show is up next. It's the Mike Rutherford Show, presented by United Mechanical. 1450-96.1, the Big X. Here we go. 5 o'clock hours, the final segment of a game day edition of the Mike Rutherford Show, presented by United Mechanical and Nexus Plus. 1450, 96.1, and now simulcasting on 970 WGTK to get you ready for tip-off between the Cards and the Razorbacks. The 970 listeners, you'll have the official pregame show on the air once we get off here at 5:30. 1450, 96.1 listeners, you'll have Ticket Punchers with Roman Kelly from 5:30 to 6. But it is a big one tonight for the Cards, taking on number 25 Arkansas, their old arch nemesis, John Calipari, their less old arch nemesis, Kenny Payne, who coached the team to 12 wins over 2 seasons. Big time spot for U of L. It's just the 8th meeting all time between these two programs. Kind of crazy, too. Only 2 of those games have been played on home courts. Louisville's 1-0 in Fayetteville. They beat the Razorbacks in overtime back in 1996. Arkansas's actually 1-0 in games played in Louisville. The other 6 games have all been played on neutral courts. They're 3-3. The most recent meeting, unfortunately, was the Maui Invitational game back in 2022 when Arkansas pummeled Louisville in the quarterfinals. But we were okay with it because we were like only down by 6 at halftime or something. We were like, this is a step in the right direction. Those were the good times.
Yeah.
That was as good as it got in the Kenny Payne era. But they'll go at it tonight. Louisville's a 2.5-point favorite. Big-time spot for the Cardinals. Big-time opportunity to pick up a road win that could qualify as a quad 1 victory when all said and done. Should qualify as a quad 1 victory when all said and done. But maybe more importantly, a chance to pick up a win in a hostile environment in your first true road game. Set the tone for how good this team can be on the road. They were terrific on the road last season. Whether or not this team has the ability to be that mentally tough, we'll kind of start finding out tonight. So big spot for the Cards. We'll talk about it for the next 20 minutes or so. We'll take some texts from you guys as well. And then myself, Keith Wynn, Roman Kelly, will make some predictions for both the U of L game and the other ACC, SEC Challenge games that are out there tonight. The other big news of the day, Jeff Brom confirming at the beginning of the show, not to us, but to some folks nationally, that he is staying at Louisville. There are reports out there that he was offered a full contract by Penn State, has turned that down, and is now working to negotiate a new deal with U of L. That's good news. It's also National Signing Day. Louisville, I think, a couple surprises. They had a couple flips. They had one bad flip, one good flip. But for the most part, the guys that were expected to sign, I think, have signed. We'll get the official confirmation when it comes to Briggs Cherry. And Keith, who's the other guy that we don't have the official word on just yet?
Crew Millador, an offensive line prospect.
And I think that there's also an image of him at his signing day thing that's out there as well, but they haven't gotten the official word out there. So should be all according to plan. We'll keep you updated on that front as we get closer and closer to the end of our show here. 502-414-1450. Let's take a few texts because we're going to have so many that did not get read before we go into our prediction segment of today's show. Texter says, my gut feeling today is that Kobe Rogers is someone that can come off the bench and give the team a spark. Agree.
Yes.
Sure.
Absolutely.
I think Kobe Rogers is the type of guy. I don't think matchups are an issue for him. He's the type of player. His defensive intensity and his he's kind of an alpha. He's out there. He's trying to fight everybody when he's out there. He can give you a spark against any team on your schedule.
Love Kobe Rogers, man. By far my favorite player on the team. I think the defensive aspect, but I think he leads that second group. You need sometimes, when you're playing so many guys, you have to have someone on the court with your second group who you can just trust. And I think he brings so many aspects. The other thing I really like about him on the offensive side of the ball, he can kind of do a little bit of everything. He's a great passer, but he also understands how to cut to get himself open, and he can shoot the three when he's open. So I think that he just brings such a different aspect, but the defensive aspect and how he helps that entire second group, he kind of that identity flows through that entire group. So he's the guy. He's always a wild card, but I think he's a big factor tonight as well.
Roman, you're kind of the Kanai whisperer. Is tonight a Kanai game?
Not scoring wise for us tonight. I think in every other facet though, this is a Kanai spot.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
I think that we need him, if I'm being honest, in the rebounding department. I think that's going to be huge for us tonight. I'm still kind of questioning the stamina from Frew, if I'm being honest.
Sure.
A little bit faster paced game in transition compared to what he was experiencing out there. And then within half-court sets, he's having to do a little bit more moving than he had to do and he still hasn't fully adjusted to that yet. We're also running up and down the floor every time. You're going to need good minutes from whoever the backup front court player is going to be. I'm assuming that's Ali Khalifa tonight. We can't have Ali turning the ball over, not being in the right place defensively. Granted, he's going up against two maestros, if I'm being honest, as scoring ball handlers, so it's going to just be tough for anybody that's kind of a slow-footed guy. He has to do what he can defensively, though, and he can't give up inches for free. That's kind of the one thing for that on the defensive side, because you're going to need him in a game that's back and forth. Not necessarily a bruising game in the sense that Fru's going to have to defend these guys that are trying to go at him, but it's just going to be an elbow, shouldering kind of a game. There's going to be a lot of aggression in this game, and you're going to need your front court to be on point, if I'm being honest. That's kind of where I'm at. I think that Kanai is going to have to play a role in that, both defensively and on the offensive rebounding glass, and just being that strong screener and making the right play when he does see the ball, because he's not going to see it that much when the game gets slowed down. Now, in transition, just make the right decision, fill the lane correctly, because there will be plenty of transition moments for Kanai to go out there and make something happen.
The amount of people on the text line now who are saying the same thing about Calipari getting ejected tonight and Kenny Payne coaching the team, like there's like a string of like 7 out of 8 texts that are saying the same. My friend clearly was not like overly original, because everybody's having the same thought, and now I'm just terrified of it happening. So this has become my primary concern for tonight's game, is that Cal's going to purposely get ejected. And
who are the worst possible refs for that situation?
Roger Ayers.
TV Teddy?
Teddy would be bad. Who's the one there's a ref that hates Calipari, that he would always – who's the ref that hates Calipari? Because Kentucky fans would always bring this up, and he would always, like, tee him up. It felt like all that comes up with this is a bunch of posts about John Chaney threatening to, like, kill Calipari. Doug Sermons was the guy that, like, always got into it with him. We'll see. Would love Doug Sermons to be on the call tonight. Texter says, these are all just tweets about Calipari getting ejected. Little Dumper says 2 things. 1, UK was supposed to have 2 of everything. I guess that $22 million didn't buy 2s. 2, bold prediction. If Arkansas is up somehow big in the second half, Calipari will get himself ejected and Kenny Payne will finish nothing. I didn't even see that one. Texter says, the take about this being the deepest team since 2015 was insane. That team had like 4 NBA players on it. LMAO. Texas, my Spotify Wrapped came in. 4% of my year spent listening to Mike and Roman talk ball, excluding the days that it's not uploaded to Spotify and I listen on Apple Podcasts Live. We appreciate that. 20,960 minutes to listen to the show. God love you. We apologize for whatever that's done to your brain. I can't even imagine. Texas says, I'm actually glad that we don't have Rick Pitino for this game. Never thought I would have said that in a million years. Oh, yeah. I mean, I especially after what happened in the tournament last year. Yeah. It's at some point it does have to be at least a partially mental thing, and he can't beat that guy. Yeah. So we'll get our shot with Pat Kelsey tonight and see how he goes up. Texter says, Mike, Keith, and Roman, do you blame Jeff Miller or the O-line for the struggles of the offense this year? I think you mean Jeff Miller or the O-line. Go Cards, beat Arkansas. Peep the new picture. Oh, it's the guy who always has the picture of Pat Kelsey shoving the basketball where the sun doesn't shine. That graphic, but he changes the graphic every single time. Now it's John Calipari and Kenny Payne. Would be great if you could see that, but you can't. Yeah, so actually, probably wouldn't be, but for the best. Keith, who gets the most blame for the offensive struggles this year in football?
I mean, I'm gonna go with the boring answer, but Jeff Brom is the head coach. I mean, even if it's the offensive line, it's the offensive line he built, and it goes back to the year 3 thing. Everything falls on the head coach in year 3 at this point. So I do think that Miller Moss was I think people thought he'd be better, and I think Jeff probably thought he'd be better. But yeah, the offensive line was a big part of Miller Moss struggling, and again, Jeff is responsible for that aspect. So the only thing I would say that Jeff, from a coaching standpoint, directly on the field, just the hesitancy to push the ball down the field all year never made sense to me, especially once the running game got going. And I hated hearing him at the end of the year saying, we got to figure out a way to do that. And it's like, dude, yes, obviously, man. Like, where are we at here? So
he was saving it for Kentucky. I told you all year long. He's playing it close to the vest.
Yeah, so
I'm going Miller Moss.
Yeah, well, it's fair.
Can we say, the easy cop-out answer is, like, partially all 3, right?
Yeah,
once the O-line improved, Miller didn't improve. That's my issue.
That's a fair point.
He put up 41 on one leg, folks. He got Mark Stoops fired. He got the winningest coach in Kentucky history fired on his own.
They still got to build a statue for that guy.
Moss? Miller Moss statue. Maybe Kentucky will. Maybe they'll put one up. Miller Moss got him fired. Texas says, for a second, I thought that Keith was Dan, especially coming here right after listening to the CC podcast. Then he started making good points, and I realized it couldn't be Dan. Just kidding. Love you, Duffel Dan. It's fair. Very fair. Excuse me. Texas, we need 0 3-point attempts tonight from Roots, Pryor, and the Egyptian Magician. I mean, Khalifa just hit like 3 out of 4
Yeah, I know, right?
2 games ago. I don't want Kaysen shooting in this game.
Yeah.
I don't. So Brazil and Pringle are 2 guys, like, they love to mix it up a little bit. They'll talk some smack. I don't need, kind of like the Kentucky game, and he did a good job in the UK game. Granted, he only played like 2 minutes, of not him being like, it's Kaysen time. Like, Kaysen time will come at some point this year, maybe, in spurts. Right now, we don't need this to be Kaysen time tonight. Defensively and rebounding, that's Kaysen time.
I think my hottest take right now is that I don't know if they need Kaysen Pryor playing a lot of minutes at all.
They don't.
I think they've been doing well without him, and I'm not saying he's a bad player or anything like that. I think he's a perfectly fine player. I just think they're fine without him right now, and I'm not sure inserting him in and taking minutes away from others who are playing well is the right thing to do right now.
I mean, I think you have him play the same role that he played against Cincinnati, where Kanai, like Javon Hadley's undersized in this game. He certainly can play a role, but they list him at 6'7". He's 6'5". Yeah. Like he's going to be going up against guys that are 6'10" in this game. We needed Kaysen and Kanai to play combined big-time minutes. I think Kanai played 15 minutes in the game against Cincinnati, and Kaysen played 9, and they both focused mostly on defense, rebounding, running the floor, and they gave us great minutes. Both, I think we need kind of the same thing tonight. Kanai, give us 15 big minutes, maybe more if you're playing well. Kaysen, give us like 9, 10 good minutes if you're out there and doing the right things. But we need Kaysen to stay within himself. Yeah. We need to. This is a time, especially with a hostile road environment. I mean Kaysen's going to be like, he's liable to like take his pants off during shoot around and like just taunt the whole fans. Like, you never know what he's going to do in this type of environment.
It makes me think of that Leroy Jenkins.
Yes,
that's just
Kaysen. I mean, it's Kaysen Pryor time. Quote Kaysen Pryor. Like that's. You always are on the verge of having that moment from him.
Oh man.
Texter says, the saving grace is that KP is so clueless. Even if he were motivated to do something, it's not like he can scout us or construct a game plan to execute. There was a game when he was an assistant at UK, though, where like they were down by 7 or 8, and the big thing that Kentucky fans were upset about that season was Calipari refused to go to zone. And Kenny Payne took over, and he went to zone, and they came back and they beat like Mississippi State or somebody after Calipari had been ejected. I don't think that was just brilliant coaching by Kenny Payne, but I'm worried about the optics of the same thing happening tonight, where people would say like, "Oh, maybe he can coach," and I will just die inside, and every part of it, I will spontaneously combust from the rage that builds. And it's like, no, he's not. He didn't know what he's doing. He's never known what he's doing. He never will know what he's doing.
Let's look at the sample sizes, maybe. And it's like, no, that's not what happens in the internet these days. It's sample size of him coaching 2 years versus 1 game would matter.
Texture says, Keith, good to have you on the show. Please unblock me on Twitter. Can't believe we made it this far without one of those. 514.
I don't think I've tweeted in a year.
The over hit very quickly on the over-under for that. Also, how do you think Roman would take it if he listened to the CC podcast and heard Danny saying today that we're not on the same level as Purdue? What? He did throw that out there where he's like, I don't know if we're on the level as like the best teams like Purdue, Houston, Duke. He said that.
I don't like that, Dan.
You think we're on Purdue's level, clearly.
I think we're a whole tier or 2 above them.
I think Purdue's a little overrated.
I do too.
Love it.
I think they're very good.
Yeah.
Roman thinks they stink. Like, Roman thinks that they're like going to lose 15 games this year. I think they're very good. I don't think they're the best team in college basketball.
I feel like when they go against athletic teams, they looked really rough against the athletic teams they played. I guess is the best way I put it.
Every now and then, Roman just gets these just completely based in nothing grudges.
You saw my boys from Syracuse last night.
I'm telling you, if they lose in the first weekend, Roman will pop champagne on air. Like he's going to celebrate like we just won the national title if he's right about Purdue when all is said and done. He hates them. Can't stand them.
Can't wait to ask Rick Barnes a question in a press conference.
He hates Rick Barnes, too, for no apparent reason.
Do you think if you guys maybe had a better offense, you could have won this game?
Just going to hate it. I would love it if you did that. He's like, I've been coaching for 75 years. Texas, don't worry, Keith. Your comment about if you're not in the game and you can't play well will never be as good as Trent Dilfer when he was on ESPN saying you can't lose in the National Football League and still win. It was one of the greatest quotes of all time. He said it with such confidence, too. You can't win in the National Football League. You can't lose in the National Football League and still win.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
It was right. Texas, Cards by double digits tonight. Brown and Conwell show them who the real backcourt is and combine for 50-plus. I kind of feel like they need to. We need our stars to be stars tonight.
I think anything can happen from a standpoint of Louisville and offense because I don't really trust Arkansas to defend that well.
In an article from Jody Demling, he's behind a paywall. I don't know if I should read this part.
Yeah,
but
go for it. Blame it on me.
We love it. It's Keith's fault.
Yeah, there you go.
We love you, Jody. Jody says a new contract for Brahms in the works and should be finalized, quote, in the near future. One source said Louisville has now told Brahm that the NIL money will be there to win a national championship at his alma mater. Gonna need to see it, but I like it.
Yeah, it's exactly what I want to hear. So, yeah, and then take advantage of it. Make it work.
Would you do so if it meant bringing John Schnatter back in the fold?
No. Absolutely not.
I mean, I can't stand the man. I might be like, if you could guarantee me, like, national title. Like,
like it's one of those things where you can't get one without the other. You can't. I'd love to have his money. I just don't want him.
This is
right?
This is where I start doing the thing where I'm like, you know what? Everybody who's got a lot of money has some skeletons in their closet. They're all bad. It's just degrees of bad. So, we already probably have some bad money within the program. What's like, $20 million more?
Here's the thing. It's not the bad part of it. It's just him. He's
terrible.
Him being out in the public eye is the part I don't want. I don't even care about the other stuff. It's just you don't get John Schnatter without getting all of Papa John.
He does provide the best media stories. Like everybody's got one, and they're all incredible.
Insane.
They're all insane.
Insane.
Just give us $50 million.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not renaming the stadium after you, though. That's where we draw the line. Texas said, I'd rather beat Indiana than this Arkansas team, but I'd sure love to beat both. Let's have a bleeping snow week. I can't read that, guy. One at a time. Go Cards. Also, imagine that Indiana loses to us in B-ball, then loses to Ohio State, then loses their first playoff game. I'll be talking trash to all those bandwagon IU fan teachers that I know. And, of course, this idiot bracketology just being himself. He said this is the only job that I'm in favor of AI replacing. I'm assuming that's a Joe Lenardi shot, in which case I agree with you. But we don't need – just get somebody better at the job than we don't need AI. Yeah, there's like a million bracketologists out there. Take one that doesn't finish in the bottom 25% every year when it comes to it. Hey, Mike, what does your Spotify Wrapped look like? The top 5 artists in Chris the Plumber's Wrapped this year are Chappell Roan, Lady Gaga, Frank Ocean, Ricky Martin, and Insane Clown Posse. That's not true. That's not – I haven't seen it. I saw the Spotify
in there.
I got the Spotify Wrapped from for producers for the CC podcast, but I haven't looked at my actual music. Every year it's just kids music. Like Peppa Pig was number 1 2 years ago. I'm sure this year it's going to be Wicked, and so John really likes Halloween music. So we're still listening to a lot of Halloween music. I mean, we were driving to my parents for Thanksgiving dinner, blasting the Ghostbusters theme. I was like, classic Thanksgiving drive here.
Yeah, sure.
It's like, bustin' makes me feel good. Like John's belting that part out. I'm like, okay, I don't know how I feel about this. Shouldn't have been in the song.
So I've gotten my kids in the music I like. So Olivia,
so
my
jealous.
14-year-old, listens to Luther Vandross because my wife listens to it.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
I'm like, yeah, that's great. And so I don't play kids music. It's just not how I roll. So I'll listen to Hamilton because I like Hamilton.
Love Hamilton.
And some of my kids like Hamilton, but
my kids won't listen to Hamilton. We tried.
No, that's unacceptable. No.
It's all Wicked.
Now, I'll come in the house sometimes and Hamilton's blaring. I'm fine with that. But kids music, I don't do. Yeah, I can't do it. Kids bop and stuff like that. No.
Thankfully, Virginia's more about Wicked and K-pop Demon Hunters and songs that are kind of poppy and stuff. I can handle that. But yeah, back in the day when it was Little Baby Bum, I was just
no.
Yeah, that's terrible.
It was all the kids would wake up when I'm driving through the night, and I was like, I can do driving through the night on vacation if it's my music or podcast. When they would wake up and we'd have to play Little Baby Bump for them to go back to sleep, it was 45 minutes of me just contemplating driving off a cliff and ending it all. I just couldn't.
Texas says, so basically Roman hates white people, especially white point guards. No, that is not the case.
The evidence is mounting.
First of all, David Levitch is in my top 5 favorite U of L players ever.
You're overcompensating there.
I love Rain Smith. I nearly bought his jersey.
You hate Isaac McNeely. You don't think he's athletic enough to play at this level.
No. I think Isaac's a great shooter. I think he does all the little things well.
Every non-Louisville white player that's great, you're like, Braden Smith's a joke.
No.
Well, you do say that.
He is a fraud.
The Europeans you're fine with.
Okay, here's one. I'm like the biggest hidden secret Peyton Pritchard fan ever.
It's kind of crazy that this is just now coming out. I've been doing the show for about 2 years now.
That's
I don't like the Celtic. I can't just be saying that.
Peyton Pritchard is cool.
I can't like a Celtic.
Where's that song? We played the one time. The White American NBA players. They got podcasts. They got. It's one of the best TikToks of all time.
It's so great.
It's like the European white guys are scary. Your uncle's favorite player, but you don't ask why. It's so good. Texas Acuff is going to play 35 minutes tonight no matter what. I think you're right.
He's going to foul out tonight.
If we can get him tired with us being able to keep subbing guards, I feel pretty good. I watched a impassioned defense by an Arkansas fan today. Apparently Mark Blankenbaker on the morning show was talking about DJ Wagner not getting better over the course of 3 years. Yeah. And you look at his number. I mean, he's averaging fewer points. He's all of his stats are down. And they went into this big rant about how it's because he's playing fewer minutes and look at his efficiency numbers and all. He's being. I'm like, the point still stands. Yeah. He was expected to be a one and done. Yeah. He's in his junior year of college basketball, averaging 8.5 points per game for a 5-2 team. They're like Calipari, and it seems like the right thing to do has gone all in on these two freshman guards. They are steering the ship.
Yeah. I remember seeing DJ Wagner in way too early mock drafts.
I mean, there was a point in time on this show where we had a DJ Wagner update of the day with a special song to the Game of Thrones theme song. Wagner, DJ Wagner, DJ Wagner. Every single day we had an update about his recruitment. And then he started punching kids after AAU games, and I was like, maybe the Wagner family over the years, a little bit of red flags.
I think sometimes we all, as fans and of college sports, some guys just peak and they just don't get better. And unfortunately, I think that's the case with DJ Wagner. He just never really he hit the top of his potential when he was still in high school and never got better.
It's also a coach that doesn't make players better.
Yeah, that's fair too.
We are guaranteeing that he scores 25 points.
Yeah,
we are absolutely guaranteeing.
Career high 3-pointers made tonight for DJ Wagner.
Texas freshman guards typically struggle with defense early on. Watching the Arkansas youngsters try to keep up with our front court and our motion is going to be comedy. Well, hopefully it's their freshman guards and not our freshman guards.
I was going to say, it could be the same way on the other side.
We got a pretty important one, too. Texas, holy bleep, I was about to text in that we don't want Pryor going Leroy Jenkins. Great minds think alike. Texas net rankings as of today, Louisville's number 10, Arkansas's number 45. Quad one opportunity for both teams. There we go. All right, we only have a couple minutes left. Let's make some quick predictions on tonight's ACC-SEC Challenge. Again, the ACC just needs to go 3 and how many? There was 9 games last night, so there's 7 games tonight. They need to go 3 and 4 in tonight's games to win the challenge outright. If they go 2 and 5, they tie, and the SEC technically continues control. The one where I think we're up against it the most, Clemson is at Alabama. Bama's a 10.5-point favorite. Clemson is 7-1, but they've beaten nobody of any sort of substance. Does anybody think that Clemson wins this game?
No.
I don't. Roman?
I think they can cover, but no.
I don't think Clemson's got it this year. I don't think they're a tournament team. LSU is at Boston College. LSU is a
chance.
6.5
no shot.
I just don't think LSU's that good either.
That little guard that LSU's got, he's a bucket getter.
Okay, SMU at Vandy. Vandy's a 10.5-point favorite. Both these teams are undefeated, by the way, at 8-0, but SMU wildly unchallenged.
The line on that one's too big. I think SMU can keep that game close.
I think they can cover. Well, the metrics love Vandy. They've loved this Vandy team since the beginning of the season. SMU.
It was Norlander that was talking about the fact that he was wrong about Vandy, so yeah. I'm going Vandy.
I think Vandy wins. I don't know. I think 10.5 is right around the right number. Okay, here's one where it feels like we maybe have a chance. NC State at Auburn.
Yeah, I'm going with that one for sure. NC State takes that one.
I think Auburn wins, but it's close. I think we get one of these two, Virginia at Texas or Mississippi State at Georgia Tech. I think Virginia can beat Texas. I think Mississippi State stinks. Georgia Tech's terrible, but it's at home.
Isn't Texas offense pretty good?
They're okay. They're all right. I think one of those two goes the ACC's way, and then it's on us to at least secure the tie. Let's make quick predictions. Keith, tonight, Louisville, Arkansas, final score. What you got?
Ooh, 75-68 Louisville.
Roman, what you got?
Give me Louisville 83, Arkansas 77.
I think this is going to be a battle. I think it comes down to the closing seconds. Louisville makes the plays. Cards 83, Arkansas 81. Let's get it done. Big thanks to Keith Wynn. Big thanks to Roman Kelly as always. Let's go Cards, baby. We'll see you tomorrow at 2:30. Go Cards. Partner for commercial and industrial HVAC, electrical, plumbing, and refrigeration.